Hello, welcome again to Jason the Old Millennial. Uh, Again, I'm here on the live stream, and this time I'm with my friends Bryer from Bryer's Music Showcase and Nick from Townsend 505. Uh, I hope anybody was. I just got done with the live stream with Jacob Martin talking about the 1990s, and now doing one with two more members of our group as we talk about 1966 in music. So, a lot of music talk today on my channel. Lots of because I just got done doing 2 hours and 40 minutes, so and so now we got more to talk about. How are you guys doing?
I'm doing great. I mean, I'm looking forward to talking about this year. I mean, 66 and 67, in my opinion, are the two greatest years in music. I mean, of course, there'll be people who will disagree with me, but that's just my opinion. Of course, there'll be people who are like, oh, 71, 69, great years, by the way. I'm not going to argue with those years, but for me, 66 and 67, for me, are the cream of the crop of the 60s, and for me in general.
Yeah, how are you doing, Briar?
You're muted, Bryer.
I'm not hearing you, Briar.
The sounds of silence.
I don't know what happened, but I'm like, hope that's not on my part.
No. You're good, Jason. It was me as well.
I'm like, I hope Nick is in the same boat as me. We're looking at each other like,
Yeah. I was like, should I say something? I'm gonna say something. Still can't hear you, Bryer.
Okay. All right, Briar's fixing that. Yeah, 1966 is, in my opinion, the best year of music that we've covered so far of the 60s. Starting 1960 on today. What an absolutely incredible year. Talk about music. And again, yeah, it's like one of those things where it's like,
what the fuck?
Are you back, Briar? I think I heard you. No, you're still on mute.
I hope not. No one heard me there for that second.
Okay. I'm sure you said some choice words then.
Yeah. Let's just pretend that never happened.
Okay. Take two. All right. Welcome to Jason the Old Millennial. Right, Briar, your state is on fire. My state's under snow, unfortunately.
There we go.
How are you doing?
Yeah. The state's on fire like my audio was. Anyway. But yeah, as I was going to say before, I guess the universe doesn't want me to talk anymore. But yeah, I think 66 is definitely a big step up in terms of the music side. Definitely a lot more albums that I really enjoy a lot, and definitely some really good ones on here. And just like just like the last one I was on, I'd like to, because a lot of the albums I picked are from my own collection. And so in 65, I only had 15 at that time. Now in 66, big jump. We're at 26. So definitely a lot more, and definitely a lot more to choose from. And I'm pretty happy with what I got here. So yeah, there you go.
So you have 26 albums from 1966.
Yes.
I have 5.
I have quite a bit of 66 albums.
Wow.
I only have 9 of the 10 albums on my list. The only one I don't own, spoiler alert, Buffalo Springfield's going to be on my list. That's the only album I don't own. I really want that album, but that's the only album that's not on my list. That's on my list that I don't own.
Well, my top 5 albums I actually own, which is kind of cool. I can show them and talk about them. And yeah, my top 5 is just some of the best albums of all time. I'll tell you right now, they're very high on my top 100 favorite albums list. In fact, my top 2 are in my top 10 favorite albums of all time. I mean, that's how good this year is. It is crazy good year. And I was saying that, it was me and Nick who's gone through the 60s. 60 to 63 especially was just like, there's some okay albums here, And then 64, it's like, all right, there's some better stuff. We got the British Invasion coming in. And then 65 is like, holy cow, this is a great year. And Bryer joined us for that. And it's like, it was a big step up. And I would say 66 is even a step up from 65. I felt like 65 came and it's like, oh, now we're going. Now we're just, everybody decided, okay, now we're going to come up with our best albums of all time. I mean, all the British invasion bands that came in 64, 65 are putting out some incredible albums this year, some of their best. Some would argue is their best albums of all time. And then also the folk rock groups are coming in 65. And there's some new ones in 66 as well. And they're putting out some of their best albums. So it's like we're getting the best British invasion and the best folk rock all in one year, it feels like right now. And then Motown's also putting out some really good stuff. So, I mean, this is a great year for British invasion, folk rock, and for Motown. So it's to me, probably one of the two greatest years I've ever seen in music. This and 71, probably, I would say, is my two favorite years of music anyways. But yeah, besides that, if you want to see more about the history of 66, you can go look at my video I did covering all the big events that happened this year and talked about the 10 best-selling albums and the 5 Grammy Award nominated albums. And if you guys saw that, who won Album of the Year? Good old Blue Eyes won again. So I'm curious to see if any of you have Frank Sinatra on your list. We'll see.
Was it Strangers in the Night, at least?
No, I don't remember what it was.
Come on, that's the best album.
I know.
It would be cool because, well, for one, that's either my favorite or my second favorite Sinatra album. And two, it's the album that me and Bryer could be reviewing this Saturday. That would have been a cool plug, but
no, I don't know if it's even.
Sorry.
I don't know if it's even one of his best albums, but it won Album of the Year for some reason.
Yeah, I'm like, if it's not Strangers in the Night, then I don't know. Then.
Yeah, I forget now what it was called. But
and that was for Grammy Album of the Year?
Yeah.
I'm gonna look it up actually.
Yeah, like Barbra Streisand got nominated. Her Albert and the Tijuana Brass Band got nominated. I think like Dr. Zhivago got nominated. And then a Beatles album, Revolver, got nominated, which was nice to see. Should have won, in my opinion, but
September of My Years.
September of My Years. Okay, yeah.
I thought that was last year that he won that.
I think he won 2 in a row.
He wrote for that album? Oh my gosh. It's not that good.
Oh, no, sorry. A Man in His Music. Yeah, that's the one he won for this year.
Oh, okay.
September of My Years won the year before, I think.
Man in His Music. I don't recognize that album, actually.
So he won 2 in a row. September of My Years and Man in His Music. And that was his 3rd album in the 60s.
That's so weird because I think Strangers in the Night is a fantastic. Like, if that was the album, I'd be like, fair enough, but Man,
right.
I don't know any songs on that album.
Scott says you're reviewing Strangers in the Night, so you're doing that Saturday. You said,
yes.
Awesome.
You could join us if you want, Scott. You're more than welcome to. It'll be Saturday in the evening.
Scott has Revolver, Pet Sounds, Aftermath, Parsley, Sage, Rosemary, Thyme, and Blonde on Blonde in his top 5. I will tell you, definitely 4 of those albums will be talked about. Maybe all 5 on our list. I'm sure one of us will have those on their list. But anyways, all right. Do you want to start, Bryer, with your 10?
All right, sure. Okay, so number 10, which is funny because I think this band was also number 10 in 65 as well. And that's going to be Rolling Stones with Aftermath.
All right.
And of course, I'm going to talk about the US version because that's the one I'm most familiar with and the one that's easier to get. But of course, this is kind of the first album where it's like pretty much all of these are pretty much originals, like not really any covers on here. And yeah, I mean the US starts off with probably another one of their big like early classics, which is Painted Black, which is a fantastic song. Of course, you have the great drumming from Charlie Watts on it and a really good frantic feel to it, which I love a lot. Then you have other songs like Stupid Girl, Lady Jane, Under My Thumb, some more great songs here. And, still has that sort of bluesy kind of blues rock vibe that they still had at this point still, but it's definitely moving a lot more towards the different sounds, of course, coming because of Brian Jones just bringing in different instruments at this point and definitely expanding the sound of what the band were doing before. And of course, this album is notable as well, especially because it has the song "Going Home," which is probably one of the first like long jams songs from a popular rock band at the time. Which there you go, mentioned right there. But yeah, really good album. Still not quite at the period which I love from the Stones, but for definitely still kind of an early period for them. It's a very solid album. I dig it quite a bit. So there you go. That's my first choice.
It's cool. We got the Rolling Stones. My number 10 is going to be Sounds of Silence by Simon and Garfunkel. This was their follow-up album, The Wednesday Morning 3 a.m. If you know, that album made really high on my 64 list. Another thing you gotta know is I'm a huge fan of Simon and Garfunkel. They are one of my favorite duo. They're my favorite duo of all time. To me, I think this is such an underrated album. I will say it is rushed. Definitely is a rushed album because after they took the acoustic Sounds of Silence, which by the way me and Bryer both prefer, and made that into a huge hit song. They were like, Simon, Garfunkel, you're getting back together. You're making another album right now. No breaks. You're just making another album. They're like, oh, okay. And then they take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 songs from Simon's solo album, Paul Simon's Songbook, which, by the way, made it really high in my 65 list. If you didn't know that already, and they re-recorded it, blah blah blah, and yeah, this is a terrific album. Now let's go track by track. So we got Sounds of Silence, the hit version. I like the song. I do. I love it a bunch, but I do prefer the acoustic version, of course, in my opinion. I do feel like the the instrumentation does kind of get in the way for me, in my opinion. But I could see the appeal because a lot of people are used to that version, this version. So it's like I don't blame you. I'm not like, oh, how could you? It's just like I'm just more used to the acoustic version. This electric version is great, but my preference is the acoustic version. Leaves That Are Green. This is another fantastic song. Leaves That Are Green. Beautiful song. I really enjoy. Blessed. It's an interesting song. You have Simon doing some spoken word bit a couple times. It's an interesting song. It's so some people might not like it, but I think the harmonies are interesting. Yeah, I enjoy it. Kathy's song. I love Kathy's song. It's a beautiful song. Oh my gosh. I hear the drizzle of the rain. Oh my gosh, such a beautiful song. Very underrated. Somewhere they can't find me. It's basically like it's basically a rewrite of Wednesday Morning 3 a.m. of Robbie and the Liquor Store. I think it's fun. I actually like how they did that. I think that's cool. Here's the reason why this album's only number 10. Angie, it's filler. It's just an instrumental of the last song. Don't know why they did that. Again, it was a rush job, but still don't understand that. Fun fact: in the UK, side 2 opens up with Homeward Bound.
Hmm.
Yeah, it opens up with Homeward Bound on the UK version.
Okay.
Because another fun fact: this album was actually originally released in the UK, but in the US, they're like, we can't have that on the album, so they took it off. So
put it on the next album.
Yep, they put it on the next album, Parsley Sage Rosemary Time, which, by the way, is way higher on my list.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really, really enjoy Homeward Bound on this version, but you won't be hearing me talking about it on this version. You'll hear me talking about that on Parsley Sage Rosemary Time. Richard Corey, man, this is a dark song. It's about this guy who's envious of this rich guy who's basically his boss and all that. It's like, oh, I wish I can be. Oh, I wish that I could be Richard Corey. And then like at the end, it's like Richard went home last night and put a bullet through his head. I'm like, I remember when I first heard, I'm like, what? What is this? You know, it's very dark
Yeah.
for sure. And then the next song is another Suicide song, Most Peculiar Man. You know, guy who's strange. You know, very very peculiar. You know, most peculiar man, and he kills himself. You know, put the gas on, and it's like, oh my gosh! And it's like, what's sad is like, it's like, and everybody said, what a shame that he's dead. But wasn't he the most peculiar man? It's sad because that's how the guy gets remembered by. And then April Come She Will, a beautiful song sung by Garfunkel. Oh my
Great.
gosh, this is a beautiful song. April Come She Will. Oh, great song. I love that song.
That's great.
And then after those like three kind of like sad sounding songs, you have We Got a Groovy Thing Going, maybe. We got a groovy thing. Oh my gosh. I love that song. We Got a Groovy Thing. I know some people might be like, it's just filler, you know, it's kind of a rush. You know, it's like, it's just a throwaway song. I love it. It's a fun song. You know, it's like, hey, you know, I thought we had a groovy thing going. Why are you leaving me? I never did anything wrong to you. We got a groovy thing. And then it ends off on I'm a Rock. Awesome album closer. Great song. And yeah, number 10. No, my number 10 was actually gonna be Aftermath, but then
That's what I thought.
I won't sound silence. I just slightly prefer this album right now. I mean, keep in mind, this is my third variation of the album, so I mean, this is my third variation of my list, so it's changing constantly.
I was gonna say we might get back to back Aftermath albums. I was like, oh, interesting. You guys are like right on the same page there. Balding Boomer mentioned Stranger Than Night. It was wonderful. Great orchestration by Nelson Riddle.
I agree.
Balding Boomer loves Aftermath. Scott is looking forward to a dive on Sinatra this year. Listen to The Wee Small Hours and Morning and Songs for Swinging Lovers. Both great albums with polar opposite vibes. All right.
Yeah. The first song on that album, not on The Wee Small Hours, but the songs for Swinging Lovers is You Make Me Feel So Young. Great song.
He says, great 10-minute jam. I think he's talking about the Going Home Out song.
Yeah. You should talk about that.
And Balding Boomer agrees with that. And talking about The Sound of Silence. Great album. Some dark subject matter, though. What's the matter, Paul Simon? Who hurt you? I don't know. Says that looks to be an early copy of the album without the song titles.
It's a remaster.
And Homeward Bound works better, on Parsley Sage.
I agree with you, Scott.
That's a great song. All right, for my number 10, I get to bring in the Hollies for the first time, which is nice. I haven't talked about that band. And I got For Certain Because here at my 10 spot. This is kind of Hollies, I feel like first big album maybe they came out with. I know Nick really loves this album. He talks about it a lot.
It's definitely their first really good album.
Yeah. I want to say this is maybe their fourth album.
It's their fifth album.
And we've been talking about their albums on Nick's channel, actually. So we haven't talked about this one yet. I think we're coming up to this one, if I remember right. But yeah, the Hollies definitely are really getting into their sound. I think because I was somewhat negative, I think, on the first two albums. I think they didn't quite find their sound yet. Till like maybe the third or something like that. I think they finally started sounding better. Because the Hollies are so good because of their harmonies and they're just great, catchy pop tunes. Are just so good. And I think they really, really find that with this album for sure. Though the only hit song I think is probably Stop, Stop, Stop would be kind of a hit song for them, which is a nice song for them. I really love Pay You Back with Interest. That's like my favorite song on the album. It is so catchy. The Pay You Back with Interest. Like, I don't know. I love the way the lead singer sings that. Not Graham Nash, but the other guy. I'm forgetting at the moment.
Alan Clark.
Alan Clark, yes. Alan Clark, great vocals on that. And so catchy. I love their catchy stuff. Also like Clown, Suspicious Look in Your Eyes. Peculiar Situations, also very catchy. And What's Wrong with the Way I Live. again, not big hit songs, but all very, very good, like deep cut songs, I guess, or hidden gem songs, I think. And overall, a very good sound. The whole album has a really good sound to it. Again, just captures what makes the Hollies so good. And so I'm glad I get the Hollies for the first time in the top 10 here in my 1966 list.
Right.
All right, back to Bryer.
Okay, number 9 here. We have a debut album and a pretty notable one. Next one, number 9, is going to be Buffalo Springfield.
Nice.
Yeah, I think this album has definitely grown on me more since we've done that review a while ago. Yeah, I mean, of course, there's 2 versions of this album. Of course, this is the more well-known version because it has For What It's Worth on it, which, of course, terrific song, great protest song during the time, great song by Stephen Stills, of course. And that was like the only song I knew prior. But going through the album, yeah, there's some other fantastic stuff. Go and Say Goodbye is really good. Of course, nowadays Clancy can't even sing. A nice little song from Neil, kind of, kind of, kind of upset that no one will let him sing his songs. That whole thing, but it's still a great song. And of course, Richie Furay is a really good singer. He sings that song really well. See, Everybody's Wrong was pretty good. Of course, Out of My Mind is another song that grew on me when I first heard it. It's definitely grown in stature, but overall, it's just a very nice, very good folk rock sort of album. It's my favorite album by them. Just has a nice feel to it, and yeah, overall, some really good album. So that's number 9.
Would you still give it a 9.5?
Maybe, probably, but it's definitely it's a very high 9.5.
That's a good score.
Okay, so my number nine is going to be Jefferson Airplane Takes Off. This is released 1966, of course. This was their debut album. Very notable album because this was before we have name the name of her right now.
Grace Slick.
Grace Slick. This was before Grace Slick joined the band. It's a little bit more on the folkier side. That's what I love about the album. It's more folky. There's ounces of psychedelia, like ounces, like very, very little bits of psychedelia. I mean, once we get to their third and fourth album, Crown of Creation and After Bathing at Baxter's, then you're going to really hear psychedelia from them. But right now, we're just in the ounces right now for them. I'm sure Jason, this is his ideal Jefferson Airplane because it's just ounces of psychedelia as opposed to balls to the wall. But it's fun. There's a funny fact is that there's 3 different variations of this album. There's an original version where there's 6 songs. 2 of them have quote not so good lyrics, and then there's a second variation where they take the 6 song there where they take a song off and they censor it. Then there's just no, they take it off and then they keep the other 2 songs the same. Then there's a third variation. The one I have, the more common variation, is the one where it's censored. So one of the songs, "Let Me In," there's a lyric. So let me in, you know where, it's a sex innuendo. It's like, oh, let me in, you know where, the record label was like, you can't do that.
Yeah, wasn't that subtle either.
Yeah, I know. It's like, you know where. And then Run Around. I forgot what it was, but I think it's like Lay Under Me, which is kind of like another sex innuendo. And then there's a song that they just flat out told them to get rid of. It's called I think it's like Running Around or whatever, and it's talking about trips, drugs. So they're very soft on this album. Once we get to Volunteers, they're laying them sing lyrics like "Up Against the Wall, motherfucker." So compared to the album that they would end up, that it's the same label too. RCA, like RCA wouldn't let them do nothing on this album, and then when we get to Volunteers, it's like RCA's like, oh, we'll let you get your way this time. Which, to be honest, I think the cursing's actually worse than just the innuendos, if you're asking me. But anyways, that. Besides the point, that's all the fun facts about this album. How's the music though? I love this album. I love this album. A jet age sound. Um, Blue Sermon Airplane, nice song. I like it a lot. Let Me In. Really enjoy that song. Again, it is funny when I hear the uncensored version. It's like, "Oh, let me in, you know where." It's like, I think we all know where you're talking about. It's funny, but I enjoy it. Bringing Me Down, I enjoy. It's No Secret. Oh, I love It's No Secret. I think that is an incredible song. It's no secret how much my love is for you. It's no secret. I'm like, this should have been a huge hit. And the thing is, it was like one of their first singles, but it went nowhere when it was released. It's like, come on, that song's awesome, but it is what it is. Taco Bell, Tobacco Road. Oh my gosh,
I was like,
Taco
what?
Bell Road. Yeah, Taco Bell Road. But
Sounds like my kind of.
Tobacco Road, good cover. Not one of my favorites, but I enjoy it. Running Around This World. That's the name of the song. Man, they should have kept this on the album. At least make them censor it because this is a fun song. I'm really upset that they didn't that every other version of this vinyl doesn't have the song on it. And yeah, Scott commented Taco Bell Road. Yeah, that could be a Weird Al song.
It should be Weird Al. Taco Bell Road.
Bum 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 Taco Bell Road. Come Up the Years. Oh my gosh. I gotta get going. Come up the years. Great song. Run Around. Another great song. Let's Get Together. Beautiful song. Don't Slip Away. I love the guitar on there. Schaefer Blues. It's the only song with Anderson on lead vocals. It's the only female lead singer on Jefferson Airplane that wasn't Grace Slick, and this is the only time she sung on a Jefferson Airplane album. I'm guessing that's why they let Grace Slick sing on the next one. It's like, hey, we let the female sing on the last album. Let's let her sing her 2 songs, and well, it would end up working to their favor because those are like their 2 biggest songs. And then last song, And I Like It, really good blues song. But yeah, I love it because it has like 3 different genres to it. It's like blues, folk elements, and a tiny bit of psychedelia. That's why I have it on my list. It's such a great album. I definitely recommend everyone listening to this album. It's really good. And yeah, I think I spent a little bit of time talking about all the innuendos and all that, but I feel like with this album, it needs to be talked about because they're so funny, and then it just the label ends up contradicting themselves because they would like not even like 3 years later they would let them drop the F-bomb. So it's like come on, stay a little consistent, RCA. But that's my number 9.
Buffalo Springfield, Scott reminds us that there's a great vocal cameo from Mike Nesmith.
Oh yeah, Bird and
You forget the Michael Nesmith song "Out of My Head" or
Out of My Head and Burned.
"Burn." Yeah, great night, Michael Nesmith songs.
Of course.
Just kidding. He wasn't on the album.
If only he was.
It was Neil Young, not Mike Nesmith. I was going to say, that'd been a cool fact. Mike Nesmith played for Buffalo Springfield before he started the Monkees. That would have been a nice, but it didn't happen. But
no, that's a shame.
It's a shame. Yeah. All right, for my number 9, I was going to say 66, we're starting to get a little more psychedelic, I think, this year, but we're going to get full-blown psychedelic like the next year. It's going to be a lot of psychedelic, I think, or next couple of years. It's going to be psychedelic's going to hit us pretty hard with like Jefferson Airplane and all that. But number 9, I get to talk about another British invasion band that I haven't talked about yet, and that is the Kinks album Face to Face at number 9 on my list. This is definitely one of the first, maybe the first real. I mean, I wasn't a big fan of the first 2 albums. I would say weren't great. but then they got better after like King's Controversy. I thought was good,
Yeah.
and I think Face to Face, most people would say is like the first. I don't know if they say it's the first, but it's definitely one of their first big albums that they came out with. That I think across the board, all King's fans will say is one of their great albums, at least one of their great early albums for sure. Um, yeah, again, I don't know if these were any big songs
Uh,
necessarily.
I'd say the only the only
I
real
think
big song on the album is "Sunny Afternoon."
Sunny Afternoon would be my guess. On top of my mind, that'd be the big song on here. But man, it's a great kind of rock album of this time period. Not as bluesy rock as the first two albums were, but overall sound is really good. I think Ray Davis does a real good job, and some really good catchy numbers that you might not know unless you heard this album. As you mentioned, Sunny Afternoon. Oh my gosh, that is one of my favorite Kink songs. It's like in my top 10. I think when we did our top 25 Kink songs, me and Nick, I believe this was in my top 10. It's such a cool song. In the summertime. Oh, it's just so great. I love the vocal performance and the overall melody. It's just one of those real super catchy numbers. But other songs I really like was Dandy, super catchy as well. Session Man, which I know Nick loves that song, but it's a nice catchy song. And probably my second favorite song on the album, Most Exclusive Residence for Sale, is so good. It's such a well written song, kind of tells a story, has a little humor in it, and super catchy. That chorus, Most Exclusive Residence for Sale, whatever. Super catchy chorus. Yeah, this is right before their big period, I would say, of the late '60s, whatever, of more concept style albums that they did, and then on before they did their theatrical period. So this is kind of towards their first kind of period music where they were really getting good, and so it had to be on my list at number 9, Face to Face by the Kinks. Back to you,
Hmm.
bro.
Number 8. So number 8, I'm gonna go with another debut album, and this one is from the band Cream, Fresh Cream. Now, I'm gonna admit there's a bit of a contradiction I'm doing right now because I think when I reviewed this with Nick, I gave like maybe an 8.5 or something like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I
Yeah,
remember.
but Buffalo Springfield I gave like a 9.5 or something like that. So on a technical level, Buffalo Springfield's probably a better album, but the reason why I kind of went with this one just slightly higher is because just a personal thing. Because if I'm gonna go pick between bluesy hard rock and folk rock, I'm probably gonna gravitate more towards the bluesy hard rock.
Okay.
But still, both are but still, and this is Cream at their probably the most bluesiest. Of course, when we get to '67, they're gonna incorporate more psychedelic influence on there, while still having that bluesy hard rock sound into it. And I do think those albums are a lot better. But for their first album, which is more stripped back, I still think it's a very strong debut. Of course, they were considered the cream of the crop at this point. So you have Eric Clapton on guitar, and of course his guitar playing is all over this one. Jack Bruce, great bass player and good singer too. And of course you have Ginger Baker, really powerful drumming at this time. Um, the track listing, of course, depending on what version you have, it's either going to start with NSU or I Feel Free. Of course, this CD copy I have has both. And so you pretty much get everything on here. But I Feel Free is a really good song. Always enjoyed that one. It does have a more commercial, poppier sound to it. But then you have NSU, which I feel is a better, much stronger opening song. Definitely showcases each member more effectively, I think. Um, Sleepy Time was another pretty nice song as well as Dreaming was pretty good. Spoonful was a kind of another blues cover. I think they do a really good job. Um, Rollin' and Tumblin' I like a lot. And probably my favorite song on here is I'm So Glad. Probably the most catchy one. Aside from I Feel Free, probably other catchiest song on here. Really fun one. And then, of course, it closes out with Ginger's big drum solo, which was just called Toad. And that's a cool instrumental, very cool drum solo. Again, just showcasing Ginger's drumming abilities, of course. I guess the reason why the album is not too high is because there are a couple weaker songs, especially the very blues driven songs where there's not much rock really, and there's even an instrumental on here, which is kind of whatever. Um, but still, it's still a very nice, good blues rock album, and yeah, it's pretty good. So yeah, that's number 8.
Okay, my number 8 is gonna be, well, I'm gonna be right behind Jason with this album. That's gonna be Face to
Ah,
Face by the Kinks. So to me, Face to Face, Something Else, Village Green, Arthur, and Lola. Those are the big 5 albums for me. And this is where it all began. Face to Face. I mean, I thought King Controversy is an amazing album. I remember when we first reviewed that album, I gave it like a 9.5 or whatever, but I elevated it back to a 10 because I just think it's a great album. But this album to me, this is to me the first where I could ultimately say this is a 10 out of 10. I mean, King Controversy, I gave it a 10 because there's just so many great songs in my opinion. You know, we kind of make exceptions. You know, albums for me is their first real 10 out of 10 album. You open up the album Party line, which is a fun song. I'm on a party line, wandering all the time.
yeah.
Oh, I love that song. Rosie, won't you please come home? Beautiful song. Rosie, won't you please come home? Oh man, Dandy, love this version. I prefer the Hermits version actually, just
Okay.
slightly. Um, Too Much on My Mind, beautiful Baroque pop song. There's too much on my mind, and there is nothing I can do. Great song. And then yeah, I mean I'm in 100% agreement with Jason. I think Session Man is an amazing song. It is my favorite song on the album still, even though it's a little backhanded towards either Nicky Hopkins or Jimmy Page. It's one of those two. It's like
Yeah.
you're not paid to think, just play. It's like kind of sound a little backhanded. It
Well,
really is his love letter to the person, but to me it sounded very backhanded. Rainy Day in June, I enjoy. I like the sound effect in the beginning, and I just in general I like the sound effects. And then you got House in the Country, which is a fun rocker. House in the Country with the big sports car. Side 2, Holiday Milwaukee, I really enjoy. I agree with Jason. Most exclusive residence for sale is amazing. I love that song. Most exclusive residence for sale. Ba, 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 ba. Great song. Then you got Fancy, which is beautiful. It's like a mix between Jefferson Airplane and it's forgot the comparison I made it to. It's like it feels like a comparison between two artists, but I know it's very airplane esque. Um, yeah, Little Miss Queen of Darkness, which I really enjoy. You're Looking Fine, great Dave Davies song. I feel like Dave Davies is really stepping up his game on these last 2 albums. This and Controversy, and then Sunny Afternoon.
yeah.
I mean, it's such an iconic song. It's pretty much his. It's pretty much Davies' answer to Taxman. I really enjoy it. I mean, of course, me being biased, I'm gonna say Taxman's a much better song. But anyone who says this song's better, I could see I could see the comparison. I could see why you would prefer this song over that. Um, but yeah, such a great song. And then you'll close out with I Will Remember. To me, all 14 of these songs are just top to bottom. It's a perfect album. It's funny. I have Revolver over this. I think this is more flawless than Revolver, but I think Revolver just has higher highs.
Yeah.
It's weird, right, Jason? You're probably thinking like, why would you have this lower? You're probably thinking this would be higher than Revolver, but
Yeah. Good.
I mean, you'll know why I have this lower than Revolver when I get to Revolver. But
Yeah.
let's just say the highs on that album are higher than the highs on this album. So take that for what you will. But yeah, that's my number 8.
All right, we're in agreement on that one. My number 8, I get to talk about the debut of this band. Really one of my favorite bands now, the 60s period, and that's the Association's debut album, And Then Along Comes the Association. Yeah, man, I love the Association sound. They sound so great. And even the first album, man, they're just come out with bangers. Of course, it comes out with their 2 pretty big hits on here. Along Comes Mary was their first big hit that really got them that which is a song someone else wrote, and one of the members took it and rearranged it for the band, and then they made like a huge hit out of it. It was like number 2 or 3 or something on the charts, and then they made this album. Of course, as you can tell, the name of the album kind of coincides with Along Comes Mary because it's called and then Along Comes Association. So they're kind of based this album based on the hit of that song, and so they're able to make this album. But man, it's a great album. Again, love the harmonies. One of the best harmony bands out there in this time period. They're kind of part of that folk rocks kind of period, though they're very much more like folk pop or something. I don't know, but it's like, but I count as part of the folk rock movement, basically. Cherish is my favorite song on here. It's one of my favorite associated songs of all time. Oh, it's just a beautiful song. Harmonies. It's just a wonderful sound. Just a very beautiful song and really great love song. It's iconic for a reason. It was their first #1 hit, if I remember right. But yeah, those two songs, very huge. But there's a lot of great stuff on here. Enter the Young, I think it might have been the opener. It is so catchy. Enter the Young. Like, oh my gosh. Great vocals on that one. I also love Your Own Love is also very great on here. And also Don't Blame It on Me, I thought was absolutely excellent. Those are some of my favorite on the album. But overall, definitely it's an album you need to check out if you haven't. Again, if you like harmonies and catchy music, it is so good. So that's number 8, Association's debut album.
Nice. All right, number 7, and I'm probably the one that's gonna have this the lowest here, but hey, it's still in the top 10. It's gonna be Paul Simon, Simon and Garfunkel, Parsley, Sage, Mary, and Thyme. I just contradicted myself again because I literally just said I prefer bluesy hard rock, but here we go.
I know. Yeah, that's the definition of a folk rock album.
Yeah. Anyway, but I guess Simon and Garfunkel just have that charm that kind of you just can't help but ignore. But yeah, this is another fantastic one. I actually re-listened to this one fairly recently, and just kind of giving another listen. I mean, yeah, it's a really nice one. I mean, it starts out with Scarborough Fair. It's it's a slower track, but there's something hauntingly beautiful about it, which is how they harmonize on that particular song. So it definitely sets it off on a nice note. Patterns is great. Really love the vibe of that one. Cloudy is another good kind of more ballad one, which is very beautiful. Homeward Bound, probably my favorite song. Just a nice kind of catchy, very upbeat song, which is really good. I mean, the 59th Street Bridge song or Feeling Groovy, another very good, memorable song. It has a nice groove to it. Duh. But yeah, that's another good one. Flowers Never Bend with the Rainfall. Bramley, Whenever I May Find Her is another one. And I mean, of course, it closes out with the very poignant 7 o'clock news / Silent Nights. Just another one of those haunting type of songs where you just have the news playing and then you hear it starts out with Silent Night, but then the news kind of overtakes it, kind of showcasing the chaos, especially during 1966 with everything that going on at that time. Yeah, it's just a fantastic one. Again, it's probably, I'm trying to see where did I rank? Where would I rank it now? I feel like it's probably my second favorite now, somewhere around there. But yeah, there you go. I'm going to leave it there because I know 2 other people are going to talk more about it. So there you go.
Yeah.
Okay, my number 7. This actually will be This will be the biggest upset of the night, and that's going to be a quick one by The Who at number 7. Yeah, you're probably thinking, Who is like your second or favorite band of all time? Why aren't they number 1? Well, I'm going to be straight. I just think other bands are releasing better albums this year. That's just how it is. I mean, it's just crazy. You know, they just have that. I just feel like the 60s just have the competition. But then once we get to the 70s, Queen will be the they'll be like the Giants. They'll be like the Yankees. Well, they'll be winning all the time. They'll be it'll get annoyed at it'll get to the point where people get annoyed at them being number 1 constantly. Like, come on, they're number 1 again. I'm like, yep, they are the champions.
I'm hoping one of these years the three of us will have the same number one. That'd be fun if that happens one time.
I mean, I don't see that, but I hope that's the case. I really do. That'd be cool. But yeah, number 7, quick one. This is their second album. Kid Lambert took the reins as their producer. Um, and yeah, I mean, I will admit this album did drop a lot every time I make my list, but I still love this album. It's still a top 10 album. Um, it is my least favorite of their first 8 albums, like of their 8 album run that I thought is to me is flawless. But to me, it is my least favorite of the first 8 albums. It opens up with a Run, Run, Run. Not to be mistaken with the Supremes Run, Run, Run or the
Yeah.
Velvet Underground Run, Run, Run. I mean, I know there's a bunch of Run, Run, Runs, but really great jam on this one. Then you got Boris the Spider, which great song. Boris the Spider. Boom, 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 boom. Then you got I Need You. Not to be mistaken by the Beatles song or the Kink song. Again, another case where same song title, different song. Keith Moon does lead vocal on this, and he wrote it, so that's interesting. And I actually really like it. Then you got Whiskey Man, which is one of my absolute favorite Who songs of all time. To me, I've always preferred it over Whiskey Man. Again, another great end whistle song. Then you have, in my opinion, the most underrated cover of all time. That's gonna be Heat Wave. I love Heat Wave. Heat Wave. Boom, 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 boom. Whenever I'm near you, something inside. Oh, I think Daltrey does a great job at the soul on this one. And then you close that side one with the Cobwebs and Strange. I weirdly like this track. I know most people hate it because of how stupid and weird it is, but to me, it's Keith Moon being Keith Moon. I know Bryer has a recurring joke with Eric Clapton, like, "Oh, Eric Clapton's showing his blues again." This is Keith Moon showing his Keith Moon. There's nothing much more to say. It's just Keith Moon being Keith
Or
Moon.
just showing his drugs.
Yep, he's showing his drugs. When we hear Bellboy on Quadrophenia, I was like, oh gosh, Keith Moon's showing his drugs again. Then you have side two. Side 2 is a lot more popular than the first side. I feel like side 1's a little bit more psychedelic, but side 2, yeah, don't let me see. Let me correct myself. Don't Look Away. I love that song. I know people are like, yeah, that's a generic pop song. I love me some generic pop songs. I mean, I love the Archie, so take that with a grain of salt. See My Way, the one and only time Roger Daltrey has ever written a song for The Who on a Who album. Fun fact.
Yeah.
And I really like it. I know most people are like, oh, it's better off he doesn't write. I mean, I will say that. I don't see Daltrey being their songwriter, but I thought he wrote a good song. Then there's So Sad About Us. Great song. I know it's like one of me and Scott's favorite Who songs. Really good song. And then you got the title track, a quick one. I could go over the history and all that, but I want to save all that my thoughts on that song when I do the Who review. But overall, such an amazing album, a quick one. Just the Who being the Who. I mean, I'm like the biggest Who fan in our group. No one could deny that. No one could like, oh, nope. I claim the Who, and no one could ever take them away. No one could take that away from me. Just like they can't take the Beatles away from Sky, Jason, and Queen with Bryer. For me, I'm the Who. I'm the Who guy. Yeah, that's my number 7.
Yeah, and just remember, your number 1 was the Who debut album last year in '65.
Yes, that is true.
So not 2 in a row for the Who, but he still got in the top 10, so that's good.
There will be a 2 in a row for an artist coming up soon.
My number 7, talk about an album that Nick mentioned already, and that is Sounds of Silence by Simon and Garfunkel. Their second album, and I like the first album, Wednesday Morning 3 a.m. It was an honorable mention for, I think, last year. Was it 65?
64.
Yeah, 64. It was my honorable mention that year. And this album definitely is different. The first album was just, it felt like just Paul.
Just folk stuff.
Yeah. This has a little more folk rock, I guess, in it. and a little more music in it. Like the other one was just felt like just acoustic guitar and Simon Garfunkel, and it has some very gospel like music in it too. Interesting enough, but this definitely sounds more like what you think about Simon Garfunkel. Their great harmonies, the great folk rock sound that they had. Great, definitely this album definitely paved their way to being the greatest duo of all time, in my opinion. And a lot of that's because the title song, Sounds of Silence, is my favorite Simon Garfunkel song. And I do love this version even more than the acoustic version. But man, that is such a great song. The harmonies, the melody, of course, and just the airiness of it or whatever is so cool. And just the starting line, Hello, Darkness, my old friend, I think it's maybe the greatest first lines of a song that really sets you off on the song. Like, wow, what are they talking about? Like, and again, Paul Simon, one of the great songwriters as well. At such a young age, man, he's showing how good of a songwriter he is. But yeah, Little Sound of Silence, of course, one of the biggest songs. It went number one, I believe. That's why they made the album. Simon Garfunkel might never been if it wasn't for that song. It kind of brought them together, and they were able to make a couple more great albums. But yeah, I love that song. And then I Am a Rock is the other big hit on here, like you mentioned. Another absolutely one of their best songs. These are like top 10 songs right here, those two. But then Kathy's song is amazing. I love Kathy's song. I think you mentioned that was on Paul Simon's songbook as well.
Yeah,
And that version is really good, and this version is really good. I don't know if one's better than the other one, but they're
they're
both
very
good.
they're very similar. There's
They're
no
very,
real difference.
yeah, it's not much difference. But man, that's just a beautiful song, beautiful acoustic song by Paul Simon. Yeah, definitely one of my favorites as well. And also, I'll mention April Come She Will. I love that song as well. That's such a good song.
I have a question. Do you prefer the Paul Simon sung version, or do you prefer the Garfunkel sung version?
Uh, there's a, oh, you mean, you're talking about like the Paul Simon songbook?
Yeah, because there's the version on the Paul Simon songbook where he sings it. Then of course on this album, Garfunkel sings it instead. I'm curious if you prefer Simon singing it or if you prefer Garfunkel singing it, because I'm
Yeah,
kind of in a mix between, because I think both versions are great because it's a beautiful acoustic song. But okay, I'm just curious where you stand with that.
I don't know. I like both versions. I think it's one of the best songs on the Paul Simon songbook. It was April Come She Will. I really like that song on that song. So I don't know. Simon might be better actually if I think about it. I love that version on the his solo album. But this is great as well. It's hard. It's funny when you listen to Paul Simon songbook and you hear some of the songs. Are like these are really good, and I don't know. They're just as good, if not better, than the Simon Garfunkel versions.
I know, like Leaves That Are Green. I think the acoustic version is definitely better.
Yeah, it's a
Then,
great
then
one.
there's some versions where I think the Simon Garfunkel's very better version's better. Like Flowers Never Been with the Rainfall. I think the Simon Garfunkel version's way better. But
Mhm.
yeah, it's weird because there's songs like April Come She Will and I'm a Rock. I think I'm a Rock is also better on the Paul Simon version because that song's about loneliness and it fits
Yeah,
that only one person sings that song because you have both of
yeah,
them singing the Simon Garfunkel. It's like that defeats the purpose of the song. It's supposed to be about being content, about being alone. So I just that's a little rant I'm thinking of, but I'm not sure if you agree with that or not.
yeah. I like both versions. I'd have to listen to them again, I guess, to kind of compare and contrast. But yeah, no, they're just absolutely fantastic song. But yeah, overall, I think a really solid album, and they get even better after that. Great year for Simon Garfunkel. Really great year, by the way. But yeah, and we'll be
Right.
talking more about him here probably in a bit. But yeah,
All right. Okay, number 6. So number 6. This is probably my unique pick. Pretty sure no one's gonna have this one.
Briar pick.
Um, so this is an interesting one because it didn't come out in the U.S. until 1969, but
Really,
it released in the UK in '66. So on that technicality, I'm including it. So
judge.
yeah,
We can't. Okay.
yeah.
Wait, what album is it you're talking about?
And that
Yeah.
album is River Deep, Mountain High, Ike and Tina Turner.
Oh,
Okay.
So yeah, so this is so of course Ike and Tina Turner. Of course, by this point they were a duo and believe married by this point. And Of course,
Great marriage.
oh yeah, totally. Um, um, but of course, this has probably the most well-known song aside from maybe "Proud Mary." Of course, you have the title track, which is this. Of course, Phil Spector is also producing, and I mean his wall of sound is all over this album. And of course, River Deep Mountain High is the big example of it. Just this big swirl of strings, and then you have Tina's powerful vocals on here as well. Absolute classic. Absolutely love that one. And you know, people don't seem to talk about anything else. But after giving the album a listen, and I've had this for like a few months now, I was very surprised. Like I think a lot of the songs are really good. Songs like "I Idolize You," "A Fool in Love," "Hold On Baby," "Save the Last Dance for Me," "Every Day I Have to Cry." Like it's just very great, like R&B music. And again, it's Tina's vocals just really is the big centerpiece here. Like I said before, like she has that big voice, and it just absolutely goes well with the music here. Um, it could have been a 10 out of 10 if it wasn't for the last song on here, and that song, and it's called "It's Gonna Work Out Fine." And basically, on that song, you still have Tina singing, but every like 5 seconds, Ike just won't shut up. Like he just, you know, stuff like "Proud Mary," you hear him do that deep voice every once in a while, but for the most part, that's okay. But on this one, it got really cringy really fast, and he's saying stuff like, "Yeah, it's gonna be fine," that whole thing. And also, and of course, it goes without saying, the title is a dang lie because it's gonna
Yeah.
work out fine, but we know dang well that's not true. We know what happens, Ike. Yeah. So yeah, like I said, he can burn in hell. But aside from that last song, everything else is really, really great. I think this is a pretty underrated album. I don't think people talk much about it. But yeah, just a great one. Yeah, especially a good showcase for Tina Turner's vocals. So there we go, number 6.
So you're saying he just chimes in every once in a while? Is that
Yeah,
what
he
you're saying?
just chimes in. He doesn't.
You know what's weird? It's weird. I actually like that song.
To me,
You do?
it's like if Family Man won't it has more things to say.
Boy, that
Well,
that album was not on my radar, Bryer. You kind of surprised me with that one.
well, here's an album that got higher than a Who album and the Kinks album.
The Beatles.
Revolver. Yeah, number 6, Revolver. Yeah, I mean, this is such a giant album for the Beatles. This was their big step in another direction. I mean, Rubber Soul was taking them in a different direction, but this album really took them to a whole different level of greatness. And yes, Scott, the Beatles,
You shocked.
higher than the Who, higher than Airplane, higher than the Kinks.
Yeah.
I said this. I'm contradicting myself how Bryer contradicted himself with the Cream album. This album is flawless. This album, I don't think it's anywhere near flawless, but you know what? Taxman, Eleanor Rigby, For No One, and your Burke and Sing. She said, I'm always sleeping, here, there, and everywhere. How can I not have this on the list? Come on. How can I not have on this? I know it's definitely the lowest it's on the list, but for the amount of songs I'm not as into, like Good Day Sunshine, Got to Get You Into My Life, Yell Submarine, I feel like those kind of docks the album a little bit. But you know what? The highs on this album are too freaking high. I mean, come on. Taxman, to me, is single-handedly the greatest Beatles song of all time. I know most people would be like, Taxman? Yes, Taxman. And you know what? You know why I like it so much? Because of how satirical it is. It's like they'll tax you when you're walking on the street, if you get too cold, I'll tax you for the heat. I love this song. It's such a great song. Eleanor Rigby, iconic song. Oh, look at all the lonely people. I'm only sleeping. Great. I love you too. Really great George song. Again, Here, There, and Everywhere. I don't know. This, even though this is it's funny. This is the answer to God Only Knows. On This is definitely competing against that song. The song has always been one of my favorites. I want you everywhere, and if she's besides me, I know I do everywhere. Oh, it's so easy just to say, "Oh, God Only Knows" is way better, but oh my gosh, I love this song. I know some people might be like, "Oh, how are you even comparing that song?" Because it's the freaking Beatles and it's Paul McCartney. That's why. Yes, a Marine. Not one of my favorites personally, but it's fine on here. She said, she said. Oh my gosh, this is an amazing song. She said, "I know what it's like to be dead." Oh, I love that. Good Day Sunshine. Don't like that song. And Your Bird Could Sing. Oh, I love it. It's such an underrated masterpiece. It's like a great hard rock song. Tell me what you want to know. And your bird can sing, but you can't see me. Oh, great. For No One. Might be the biggest dark horse of the Beatles' discography. Because
Yeah.
it doesn't get talked about unless you listen to the album. This and another song on the Sparks of Sage Rose Rain Time album, For Emily, Whenever I May Find Her. Those two songs are songs that I thought were just okay when I first heard the album. Then when I listened to it more, it's like, this is a masterpiece. What have I been listening to? What have I been missing? Oh yeah, For No One. That's a big reason why it's so high on this list. Dr. Robert. I mean, I like the fake stereo version, and it's a song that definitely grew on me. I Want to Tell You is great. Another great 3 George Harrison songs.
Yeah.
How can you not like that? All 3 of them are great, by the way.
Yeah.
Got to Get You Into My Life. It's okay. And Tomorrow Never Knows. Sorry, Jacob. I'm gonna have to struggle to disagree with you on this. I think this is a great song.
Yes.
Nowhere near Revolution 9. I don't get that at all. I don't hear it whatsoever. But yeah. Number 6. I know this is merely a number 6, but considering that this when I first made this list, this wasn't even on the list. That's actually a big step up. So yeah, I have to put Revolver just because of how good the highs are.
I'm so glad to see that. Definitely belongs on the list. Yeah, I'll talk more about that later. Definitely one of their big albums. If you're a Beatles fan, you'll definitely have that on your list. All right, number 6 for me, we have Daydream by the Lovin' Spoonful. This is my favorite Lovin' Spoonful album. And yeah, I love the Lovin' Spoonful. Another great folk rock band of this period. Love the overall sound. Love John Sebastian, the main singer's voice. And I love they have some really great catchy songs, of course, and some harmonies maybe here and there. And then they have songs that are just kind of fun and just kind of humorous too. I think there's some good humor in their songs at times. This I think has a good combination of that. My favorite song on the album and my favorite song of the Lovin' Spoonful is "You Didn't Have to Be So Nice." I absolutely love that song. You didn't have to be so nice, so nice. I love the backing harmonies. Is really what makes that song, especially when the first verse doesn't have any of the backing harmonies, and then the second verse, all of a sudden the backing harmonies come in, and you're like, "Holy cow, that's so good!" I love that so much, and it's just a nice song, nice kind of love song, being in love with somebody. Yeah, one of their best, I think. Um, Of course, Daydream, the title song, is another absolutely great, one of their best songs as well. Such a laid back song, just just sitting back and daydreaming. Oh, it's so nice. I had a daydream about a bum 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 bum. I love that song. Um, those are the big hits on there, but there's some other great songs like "Didn't Want to Have to Do It." It's so good. That should have been a big hit. That's another just really great sounding song for them. And I love jug band music. It's such a kind of goofy song, but I just love the doctor said jug band music, or get some jug band music and everything will be just fine. I love the way he sings it. I love just the idea of he goes to the doctor and doctor tells him he needs jug band music. It's great. It's a catchy song. And I also love Bald Headed Lena. That's such a funny song about a girl named Lena who's bald headed. And he's like, Bald Headed Lena, has anybody seen her? She's got a bald, has, was it like lead or something like that? She's got a cue ball head, something full of lead. I don't know, just the way they rhyme the different things. It's a funny song. It's a delight. But yeah, I love this album. This is a 9.5. Like we're getting in 9.5 territory now with this one. The other ones were like 9 out of 10s, and this is a little bit better. But again, unfortunately, Lone Spoonful don't have any other albums quite as good as that one. But to me, if you're going to listen to one Love and Spoonful album, I would listen to Daydream. It's a really good album.
Okay.
All right, top
so, 5.
Don't disappoint me. No, just kidding.
Well, my number 5 is one of those two behind me. But which one will it be? Well, no shock. Number 5 is going to be the self-titled from Mamas and Papas. Yeah, really great follow-up to the debut. Again, pretty much a nice continuation. I mean, you still have some big hits on here. Like, of course, it has I Saw Her Again, which was a big hit for them. Very nice one right there. But also good songs I really enjoyed were No Salt on Her Tail. Really great opening song. Good kind of feel-good one. Then you have Trip, Stumble, and Fall. A pretty violent song, if you think about it. But, it's still kind of catchy, though. So I'll give it that. And then you have some nice deep cuts here. Like, I really like the song Dancing Bear. That's like a nice, slower kind of ballad type with Denny Doherty on lead vocals. And I really like the vibe of that one. Kind of eerie, kind of haunting, but still really cool. I really enjoyed their cover of Dancing in the Street. I think it was pretty fun cover. Strange Young Girls was pretty good. And another really good deep cut I want to highlight is Even If I Could. I think that's one of the songs I play a lot, honestly, because I love the overall feel of it. And it has a very catchy cadence, which I really like. I like the horns on it too, which is really good. Yeah, overall, it's just a very solid follow-up. But of course, we'll talk more about them pretty soon. But yeah, still number 5 for me.
What would you rate it now?
Probably the same 9.5. I think that's what I rated it last time, or somewhere around there.
You gave it a 9.75, I believe.
Okay, somewhere on there. Still very close. All I just say is it's close to a 10.
Pretty high.
Yeah.
Well,
that's not the title of their debut album. I would think Mamas and Papas would be their debut album. That always confuses me. I'm like,
yeah,
that's not their debut album. It's self-titled. But anyways.
well, speaking of Mamas and Papas,
Yeah.
I have their first album,
Oh wow.
number 5. So, yeah, I've said this multiple times. I do prefer the first. I'm not the first. I do prefer the second album over the first album. But I mean, if you watch my series on my top 100 albums, it's made number 11. So that doesn't mean I don't like it. I mean, that's pretty high on the top 100 albums list. But come on. I mean, such a great album. If you believe your eyes and ears, this has 2 of their monster hits on this album, which is Monday Monday and California Dreaming. Let's talk about it. So we open up the album with Monday Monday. Such a fantastic album opener. Monday Monday, so good to me. Great song. Straight Shooter. I love that song. Don't make me mad, don't tell no lie, don't make me sad, don't make me cry. Baby, all you hold me, don't you hand me anymore, 'cause I'm a real straight shooter, if you know what I mean. Which, of course, if you know what straight shooter means, it means you're an honest person.
Right.
Which I like about it. It's like, if you know what I mean, it's such a fun song. Got a Feeling, great ballad, great slower song. One of the few times Mama Mama Michelle actually gets a lead vocal, unlike Mama Cass, because most of the time Mama Cass gets the lead vocal when it's one of the female ones. Speaking of that, next song, I Call Your Name. I don't care what anyone says. This is so much better than the Beatles
The
version.
Beatles, yeah.
The Beatles version sucks. I think that's a terrible song. They
Yeah.
take one of the Beatles' worst songs and then they turn it to one of the Mamas and Papa's best songs. So that's great. I love that. I call your name, but you're not there. Oh my gosh. I love the harmonies on here too. I mean, I've said this countless times already. I think the Mamas and Papas have the greatest harmonies of all time and the greatest harmonies of the 60s. They can never fail with their harmonies. I love their voices so much. Then one of the most, I feel like there's a bunch of dark horse songs on this album because you have those 2 hit songs and then everything else is like, obscure. But to me, one of the most underrated, most dark horse songs in the album, Do You Want to Dance? Oh my gosh. Do you want to dance under the moonlight? Squeeze me all through the night. Oh, baby. Do you want to dance? It's like, because if you hear the Beach Boys version, they're like very energetic. Do you want to dance
Yeah.
under the moonlight? Which a lot of the versions are more fast paced. So the Mamas and Papas taking it slow. I love that. Go Where You Want to Go. Oh, I love that song.
Great song.
Gotta go where you want to go. I love that song. California Dreaming. I mean, it's iconic, so it's like very iconic for a reason. Spanish Harlem, my opinion, better than a Benny King version, if you're asking me. Somebody Groovy. Oh my gosh, this is a song that really grew on me. It was like one of my least favorites, but I'm loving it now. Again, the harmonies are great. And I love how Mama Cass sings. I need somebody groovy. I need someone to move me. Great song. Hey Girl. Love the vocals on there. Another really underrated song, You Baby. Not to be mistaken from the Sonny and Cher
Simon,
song, You
yeah.
Baby.
Oh, yeah.
Because the Sonny
You,
Cher version, it's like You Baby, You Baby.
a great song.
This version, it's well the night bum 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 bum. You baby. Ooh. So it's like 2 completely different You Babies, but man, really good song. In Crowd, a little bit of a weaker album closer, hence why it's only this would be like top 3, but I will say the last song is a little bit on the weaker side. I like the song, it's a good song, but compared to the other 11 songs, it's not as strong. But yeah, it's gonna be my number 5.
So funny. We've been covering the '90s on just recently on just before this live stream, and I did research on a band, and it'd be like they put an album out, and then it'd be like 3 years or 4 years, and their next album would come out. And I'm looking at these '60s, and it's like they put out 2 albums in 1 year, and it's like what a difference it seems like. I don't know. Back then, it was just like you just pumped it out, and I'm thinking maybe you should spread it out a little bit, but no, they're like, nope, just pump them out as fast as you can. But anyways, all right, number 5 for me. Album I actually have. Album I've talked many times on this on my channel, and these top 5 are all 10 out of 10 albums. Which 1965 I had 4 10 out of 10 albums. This year a little bit better I think than last year, in that I got 5 10 out of 10s. And number 5 is Renaissance by the Association. So their second album. So I got both albums of the Association here. Yeah, I really like the Association. Me and Nick went over all their albums on his channel, and we were both big fans of a lot of their albums. And this is my favorite album of theirs. And interesting enough, it doesn't really have a hit song on it at all, or doesn't have a hit song on it. But I even love it more than the other ones that have hit songs. But again, it's just almost, and of course, Brier's heard this album too, because we did the album exchange, and he got to listen to this album as well. But I just love the harmonies on here are so good. And I don't know why this wasn't a big hit, because there's just so many songs that I think are just wonderful. Of course, the favorite song, and I think everybody in my group has agreed that this is the best song on the album. No Fair at All. And this is my second favorite association song of all time, and written sung by Jim Yester, who's probably my favorite member of the group. And it's just a beautiful song with some of the best harmonies I've ever heard in my life. When they go to that, no fair at all, no fair at all. Like, oh my gosh, it's incredible. Definitely listen to that song. It is an amazing song. Should have been a huge hit for them. But so much good stuff. I mean, I'm the One. What a fun opener to the album. I love Russ's vocals on there. With, I'm the one at your door. I don't know, just the way he does it is so great. I love Memories of You. Oh my gosh, another song that's like in my top 5 favorite association songs. It is so catchy, that chorus, Memories of You. It's so good. Should have been a huge hit of theirs. But yeah, a lot of great stuff here. Yeah, Angeline, Songs in the Wind are amazing. Looking Glass, Come to Me, You Hear Me Call Your Name, and then Another Time, Another Place is another absolutely fantastic. One of my favorite songs from them. Super catchy. Again, it's so short too. I'm looking at these songs. Like, there's only one song that's above 3 minutes. They're all like under 3 minutes. It's just, which I kind of like, because just you get through it pretty quick. Every song is doesn't overcome its welcome, overstay its welcome. It's just nice, catchy music with great harmonies, I think, and definitely it's the album I keep talking about because I'm like, I want more people to listen to this album. I love it so much. It's one of those albums nobody talks about. That Association is a band nobody talks about. That's why me and Nick talked about him on his channel, because it's like we really want to get the word out. Like, listen to Association. They're now one of my favorite groups of the '60s.
Okay. Well, yeah, I'm glad that's on your list. You know, it's a great album. Sadly, didn't make my list, but
Yeah, I say I'm probably the only one that has it on the list, but I'll represent the association on mine.
I appreciate that, Jason. So I needed to do so.
Right. Okay, number 4 now. And I will say these remaining 4 are 10 out of 10s. All right. Okay, so number 4, and it's the other one back there. Yep. Gonna talk about the debut now.
back
Back to back. Yeah. I mean, Nick pretty much summed it up pretty much. I mean, this is to me one of my favorite pop albums of the '60s in general. Again, I love their vocal harmonies, just how John Phillips arranged the vocals is just so incredible, and just so many catchy songs on here. I mean, again, I can just go through the track listing again, but I'm not gonna go as in depth. But of course, you have Monday, Monday, which is a great hit song there. Straight Sooner, fun song. Got a Feeling's great, and I do agree. I think the Mamas and Papas do a better version of Call Your Name, especially the kind of gets kind of steamy when Cass starts calling out to John Lennon. But
John, John.
yeah, we all know Cass wanted him.
I'm sure.
Yeah,
who wouldn't?
I mean, Cass went a lot with a lot of people. Besides that, but yeah, again, I agree with Nick. I love their version of "Do You Want to Dance." They kind of take a kind of more upbeat song and just made it kind of like a ballad type of thing out of it. I just love the feel of it. Go Where You Want to Go, another kind of good kind of pop song there. And then you have California Dreamin', which of course, I mean, I will admit it's not really California Dreaming right now.
I was gonna say,
but
dreaming of no
that's
fire.
too warm. Too warm.
Too warm.
It's too warm here.
Yeah.
But in any case, still, when I think California, that's usually the song I think of. Again, love the arrangement of that one. Love the flute solo in that one too. Yep, my favorite song by them, of course. So yeah, that's another big reason why I prefer this album over the second one. Spanish Harlem's a great one, great cover too. Somebody's Groovy is great. Again, last few songs are also really good. Hey Girl, You Baby, and I also really like the In Crowd. I think that's a fun closing song. But yeah, it's one of my favorite albums from the '60s, and yeah, definitely number 4.
If anyone doesn't mind holding up briefly my next pick, it's the only one I don't have on vinyl, and that's gonna be Buffalo Springfield. Buffalo Springfield. Thank you, Bryer, so much. Yep, there it is. I just
You're
wanted to.
lucky I had it in my top 10.
Yes, I am very lucky. I would have asked Jason to pull his out because I know it's on his top 10. But yeah, Buffalo Springfield by Buffalo Springfield. I made it no secret. This to me is one of the greatest albums ever made. This made my top 10 the last time I made my list, so this was dead 10. This was number 10. And man, this album is so good. Opens up with For What It's Worth. Very iconic album opener. There's something happening here. What it is ain't exactly clear. There's a man with the gun who will there, telling me I got to beware. Very iconic. Go and Say Goodbye. Great song. Sit Down, I Think I Love You. I'm not sure if you mentioned that, Bryer, or not, but I love that song. Sit down, I think I love you. Nowadays, Clancy can't even sing. I love that song. Hot Dusty Roads, I enjoy. Everybody's Wrong, I love. Flying on the Ground is Wrong. Such a masterpiece. Burned. We get a cameo from Mike Nesmith.
Yep, and that's what comes.
All seriousness though, great. Neil Young lead vocal. Do I have the right? Do I have the come? Take two. Do I have to come right out and say it? Very, very.
You look so.
Look so fun. Such a great song. I love that song. And then you have Leave. Oh, great song. Nobody knows what you say. Great hard rock song. Out of My Mind. Easily the best song on the album. Easily the best Buffalo Springfield song, in my opinion. I think I paid the price. Good album closer. Still would have thought Out of My Mind would have been a better album closer, but overall, masterpiece album. And I'm very happy to talk about that album. Yeah, that's my number 4.
Well, my number 4 is Buffalo Springfield by Buffalo Springfield. Right on page with with Nick on this one. Love this album. Great debut album by Buffalo Springfield, which is such a short-lived band, unfortunately. But then some members go on to create an even better band. But still, I almost wish I could have gotten more out of this band. They're so good. As you've noticed, I do love bands with harmonies, and this band is another one that the harmonies are so good. I mean, this is a great year for I think harmonies. I mean, I already talked about the Hollies and Association and Simon and Garfunkel and Lovin' Spoonful. Then I even talked about the Beatles or Beach Boys yet, and you talked about Mamas and Papas. I mean, oh my gosh, this is definitely another one of those bands that if you like harmonies and you like catchy music, this is a great album. Great folk rock style album. Yeah, I love that we got two songwriters basically, Stephen Stills and Neil Young, but 3 lead singers. All are great in their own right, I think. And yeah, all 3 of us have it in our list. We all 3 loved it. We all reviewed the album actually on Nick's channel, I believe. And we all loved it then. Yeah, it's my favorite Buffalo Springfield album for sure.
I still think it's my favorite album review I've ever done. And
Yeah,
it's my favorite album review I've ever done on my channel, if I'm being honest. I had such a blast reviewing that with you guys.
Yeah, I think we did like an hour and 30 or something on it, and which just seemed way longer because we did about 30 minutes on the Monkees somehow in between talking about this album. It was pretty funny.
Yeah, we got to review the Monkees at some point because of that.
You definitely do. But I agree. For what it's worth, the opener is my favorite Buffalo Springfield song. It's their really only big hit I think they ever had. The only song you probably know them by is that one. But man, it's one of the best songs of the '60s because you're starting into the protests of like Vietnam and stuff like that starting I think at this time. And this isn't a Vietnam protest song, but it's a protest song that kind of fits. I guess they're in California, so it's a California protest. Something going on there, some kind of protest thing going on there. But yeah, the Neil Young guitar ring on that so good. I mean, I love the touch that Neil Young has with that bing, that ring, whatever you have on there. And then that, yeah, stop. Hey, what's that sound? Everybody, look what's going down. One of the great choruses of the '60s. But yeah, love that. Love, yeah, all the backing vocals that come in. But yeah, so good. Um, yeah, sit down. I think I love you. Absolutely fantastic song. Another catchy. Uh, but Richie and Steve. Well, Richie, I think maybe sings it, or no, or they both sing it. Maybe
They both sing it, yeah.
they both sing it, which is great. Sit down. I think I love you. Oh, so great. Um, yeah, flying on the ground is wrong. Oh my gosh, that is like another great deep cut song that like people should know about. Written by Neil Young, but guess what? They didn't want Neil Young to sing it. Big mistake. The biggest mistake they ever made is telling Neil Young not to sing his own songs. But Richie and Steve still do a pretty good job on here. But that chorus again, I'm sorry, whatever. Bum, bum, bum.
To let you down.
Down, and I miss you, or something like that. Yeah. Oh, that chorus is so great. Great harmonies and so catchy. Again, all these songs are like less than 3 minutes. I'm looking at the track list. I'm like, gosh, it's so short, but yet so great. Burned is a great song by Neil Young. Glad to hear him sing it on there. Do I have to come around and say it? Yes, another. I mean, all these. I'm trying to remember. Like all these songs were like in my top five on the album. It's hard to remember which one. I know my top two were, and then after that, this might have been my third favorite. Richie sings one of Richie's best vocals, I think, but it's just a lovely love song. Do I have to come right and say it? You look so great harmonies. And then Out of My Mind is one of the great discoveries I've ever had in my life, where I was like, and Neil Young sings it. It's one of Neil Young's best vocals I've ever heard, and one of the great harmonies, great melody. Just love that. Out of my mind, and I couldn't take it or something anymore. Loved how he sings that. All the voices sound. It's one of those where you got three guys that can really sing, and they sound so good together. Incredible album. When I first heard it, I thought it was pretty good, and then when we were reviewing it, I was like, "This is not pretty good. This is great. This is one of my favorite albums now." So glad I got to listen to it again and reviewed it on Nick's channel and got to really fall in love with it again and go, no, this is not. It went from barely making my top 100 to being pretty high on my top 100 favorite albums list. So, yeah, Buffalo Springfield. It's a what do you call it? A triple. All three of us got
Yeah. Trifecta.
trifecta. That's what I was looking for. Trifecta. The trifecta.
All right. Number 3. Hey, let's keep this trifecta going. Next up, Revolver by the Beatles. An album so good, I ended up getting it twice. Yeah. So I got this one first. I got it at a Rite Aid. It's like pretty cheap. It's actually the US version where they cut 4 songs out. So yeah.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
sucks.
Yeah, this sucks. Get that out of here. But I replaced it with this one, which is the remix or remaster they did a couple years ago. Yep. You're probably glad I'm doing this because you finally get to hear me talk about Beatles albums for once.
I know, yeah.
But I say you never talk about the Beatles. Even when me and Jason or I talk with Scott, you gotta just stand in the corner.
Yeah. There's not much for me to say, honestly. But yeah, this is a big highlight. This is one of my favorite albums from them. Again, another album I re-listened to recently, and yeah, it just kind of really came full circle here. Yeah, of course, them going into the more incorporating a bit more psychedelic elements in here, and it just all works out really great. Of course, Taxman. Again, what can be said about that one? Great opening song, great guitar riff on that one. Good kind of hard rock song. And then you have, of course, Eleanor Rigby. Another classic. Love the string arrangements from George Martin he did on it, and kind of cool storytelling as well. I'm Only Sleeping, another very, very nice song, enjoyable as well. Love You Too is good. I love Here, There, and Everywhere. That's another highlight song for me. Good one from Paul. Just a very calming, very soothing kind of song. And then you have Yellow Submarine. I've always liked Yellow Submarine. You know, gotta give it to my man Ringo, of course. Well, he didn't write it, but he sang it very nicely. Yeah, so I always have nostalgia for that one. I know I heard that when I was a kid at some point.
Probably.
Yeah. She said. Again, that psychedelic coming back, but still very catchy. I like that one as well. And I love Good Day Sunshine. That's a nice positive song. That was a good one. Very positive one. And then you have And Your Bird Can Sing, another great, some more really good guitar playing on that track. Very great one. For No One's is really good. Dr. Roberts is I like it. I want to tell you, got to get you into my life. Another really fun one. I like the vocals in that one. That one kind of gets catchy, gets played in your head. And of course I've kind of realized that Tomorrow Never Knows, especially from one person, a very polarizing song. But what do I think of Tomorrow Never Knows?
Yeah.
I love it.
You like
I figured you liked it since you gave the album a 10 out of 10.
Yeah, of course. There you go. But yeah, Tomorrow Never Knows. Yeah, it's another one of their big ones. I love the drum loop on it. It's just it's an odd song, but it's just an odd song with a lot of chaos, but it just works. It just works for some reason. So yeah, it's an excellent closing song and definitely a big highlight on here. But yeah, it's one of their big albums, and I can definitely see why. Don't know where that would rank, but definitely maybe top 5 or even top 3 maybe. But we'll see.
Nice. It's good to hear.
Okay. My number 3, Pet Sounds. for me, I have the lowest.
I was gonna say we haven't talked about it yet.
Yeah, I mean, come on. It's freaking Pet Sounds. What else do I have to say? I could just say, okay, Pet Sounds number 3.
Come on.
I could just go like that, but that's literally, it's such an iconic album. If you haven't heard this album, where have you been all your life as a music fan? If you call yourself a music fan and you never heard this album before, I call your bluff. You're not a music fan. But come on, it's Pet Sounds. It's such a good album. This is Brian Wilson's magnum opus. This is such a good album. Wouldn't it be nice? I mean, come on. It's Wouldn't It Be Nice? Such a great song. You Still Believe in Me. Oh my gosh. I keep trying. Bum, 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 bum. Bum, 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 bum. Bum, 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 bum. You still believe in me. And then when he goes, I wanna cry. Like, that gets me. Oh, I love this song. That's Not Me. Man, another freaking amazing song. Don't Talk, Put Your Hand on My Shoulders. Not to be mistaken for the other song. Put Your Hand on My Shoulders. Not don't mistake it for that song. I think this song's much better, if I'm being honest. I'm Waiting for a Day. Great song. Let's Go Away for a While. I know you guys aren't instrumental fans, but I think we could all agree it's a great instrumental. Very, very nice and beautiful.
Yeah.
Sloop John B. Great cover. It's one of those songs where it's like it's just so good you wouldn't even think it's a cover. It just sounds like their song. That's how good they did it. God Only Knows. It's God Only Knows. What do I have to say about it? It's a freaking masterpiece. Come on. I'm not even going to talk about it. It's one of those songs where it speaks for itself. I know there's an answer. Oh, another great song. Here Today. Another fantastic song. I Just Wasn't Made for These Times. They're so good. Pet Sounds. Another amazing instrumental. And then Caroline No to cap it all off. I mean, again, it's Pet Sounds. It's Pet Sounds. What do I have to say about it? It speaks for itself. most people would have this either number 2 or number 1. You know, I have it at number 3, but I think it's a crime of the century that this wasn't on my top 100 albums list. Next time I make that list, one of you have to tell me to put this on my list because I am not making that mistake ever again. Next time Bryer makes his top 100 albums, so I'm going to make my top 100 album list. You guys got to remind me. Put Pet Sounds on the top 100 albums, and I will. Yeah. Pet Sounds by the Beach Boys.
Well, yeah, I don't think you're getting an argument from me or Bryer on that one. I think we both are big fans of that one as well. But my number 3 is another trifecta in the group, and I guess maybe we all haven't 3 talked about it. I think it'll be a trifecta. Parsley, Sage, Rosemary, and Thyme by Simon Garfunkel, which I guess, only Breyer's mentioned it as number 7 on his list.
I did foreshadow that it will be higher on my list.
I'm pretty sure Nick is going to have this coming up, but it's my second favorite Simon Garfunkel album. Absolutely fantastic. 10 out of 10 for sure. And Bryer bought me this album, a little tidbit. So thank you, Bryer. Appreciate that. I think he bought it for Christmas or something for me 1 year.
Mm-hmm.
Really glad I got this. But Scarborough Fair, absolutely fantastic. One of the greatest harmony songs of all time. Love how they sing together, and they sing like 2 different parts at the same time. It is so good. I'm like, okay, after you hear this song, you're like, okay, you're the best duo of all time. It's just official. Like, no one can do what you guys do. It's incredible. It's a beautiful song. I love Scarborough Fair. Pattern's great. Cloudy, man, so good. Me and Nick were talking about this before about that. Cloudy, whatever so beautiful. It's one of the songs you'd never heard of unless you hear this album, and then you're like, oh my gosh, this is not even a hit song. Homeward Bound, it's my favorite song on the album. I think Bryer said it might be his favorite as well. It's one of my all-time favorite Simon Garfunkel songs. I love it's so just the whole idea of like longing for home and talking about traveling. They're musicians and they're traveling, and I always wonder if because he was in England for like a year. I don't know if this is because of his time away from home or why he wrote the song, but I love the idea of home where my thoughts escaping home, bum, 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 home silently for me. Harmonies are amazing. Love the verses, great melody. It's so good. 59th, and then another big hit, 59th Street Bridge song, which for my whole life I always thought it was Feeling Groovy, and I think I always looked it up as Feeling Groovy, and I was like, why can't I find this song? And it's 59th Street. Why is it 59th Street Bridge song? I don't think that's in the album or in the lyrics. But it's a short song. If I remember right, this is like a real short song, but you gotta love that. Feeling groovy, ba-da-da-da-da-da. Feeling groovy. I love that. Hey there, lamppost, what you know? It's so good. Great song there. Flowers Never Been with Rainfall, you guys talked about. For Emily, Wherever I May Find Her. I agree. That's one of the great hidden gems on this album. One of Garfunkel's best vocal works there. Great song. And 7 o'clock news Silent Night. What a great ending. What a cool idea for a Silent Night song, and put the news on top of it. Absolutely fantastic. Number 3 on my list. One of the great Simon Garfunkel songs albums of all time.
Nice. All right, number 2 now. And I'm the only one who's going to be talking about this album. And that album is Blonde on Blonde, Bob Dylan. So it's right now. It's this album or Blood on the Tracks are competing to be my favorite Bob Dylan album now.
Okay.
Still kind of deciding on that one, but of course, this is kind of the next part of his folk rock period. Of course, last year we talked about Highway 61 Revisited, or 51. Is it 50? I always forget. It's 51 or 61.
61.
61.
Highway 61 revisit, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. There we go. But again, then we have the continuation. Of course, this is a double album, so a lot more stuff on this thing. And yeah, this has always been a big Bob Dylan album. This is the one I usually go again, like I said, it's either Blood on the Tractor or this I usually go for Bob Dylan. And again, I just like this folk rock period. I like his more incorporation of electric instruments, a lot more electric guitars, some more drumming on here, and I just think it's just has a different vibe, which I dig a lot. Of course, there's 14 songs. I mean, first song you have "Rainy Day Woman," number 12 and 35. Kind of an interesting album opener where Bob's like singing about they'll stone you when you're like doing stuff like that, and then he brings in the other definition of stones where he says everybody must get stones.
Everybody must stone.
Yeah, so I think it's a very fun opening song. I've always dug that one. Pledging My Time, kind of more bluesy songs on here, but I like that one too. I really like that one. That's always a song I like again, going back to the vibe of it. Then you have one of the big, at least to most Bob Dylan fans, is one of the big highlights is Visions of Johanna, which is a longer track, but it's still you're just kind of entranced by just how Bob is just kind of laying out this story. There you go. It's kind of, but yeah, just the storytelling of it and just the imagery he's trying to portray is very cool, very interesting. Then you have One of Us Must Know or Sooner or Later. Another one of the more catchier songs on here. I've always liked that one. I Want You. Kind of another kind of, it kind of has a more poppy feel to it, but not, because it definitely still has that kind of folky, bluesy sort of things, but I like the overall feel of it. Like the keyboard on that one. Then you have another pretty long song with Stuck Inside a Mobile with the Memphis Blues again. Long title. But yeah, that's another really fun one. I love the vibe of that one. Really cool. Leopard skin pillbox hat. Like that one as well. Another big highlight is going to be just like a woman. Kind of a more slower song, almost kind of like a ballad on that one. But yeah, I think Bob really sings it really well. Again, like the organ on it. See, most likely you go your way and I'll go mine. Another good one. Temporary like Achilles is great. Absolutely Sweet Maria, another good highlight. Fourth Time Around, and obviously Five Believers are both good. And then you close off with the 11-minute song, Sad Eyed Lady of the Lowlands, which, again, it's 11 minutes, but it doesn't matter. Again, it's 11 minutes, but you just love the overall melody and, again, surprisingly, the vocals. I think another one of his best vocals, I would say, and just how well he's just telling the story and just kind of letting it go. And I love how, especially the chorus, where he's like really prolonging his notes a bit more. Is overall a fantastic closing song. But yeah, Bob Dylan again could be my favorite. Depends on the day, but there we go. Blonde on Blonde.
Yeah, I remember that was Jason's favorite song of one of Jason's favorite songs of 66 was the last song, the 11-minute song. It's funny because I know Jason really long songs, but like I remember that in Desolation Row were like back to back on his.
Yes.
Like, oh wow, I was definitely shocked.
I know you probably guys bag on me because I don't like the long songs on some albums, but then some albums I do like the long songs. So it's I know you're like, what's up with you, Jason? Go one way. I'm like, I don't know. It just sometimes they click with me, I guess.
Sometimes it happens.
But I Lady Lowlands, yeah, I like that song. And Desolation Row is great. I'm so glad you mentioned that album. I'm sorry I don't have that on my list. That is a one of Bob Dylan's classic albums. Everybody lists as one of the greats, and I think it's just because it's a double album. It's one that I don't go back to very often. Maybe is why I don't kind of have it on my list. But definitely one that I have the CD. I mean, it's a good album. So at least one of us has it on the list. That's good. I think we have Bob Dylan on our list every year almost from '63 onwards. Anyways,
I think so. Yeah.
we mentioned at least one album from him.
Well, when we get to our honorable mentions and dishonorable mention, I'll Bob Dylan definitely will be on there.
Me too. Yeah.
Well, number 2. This was my number 1 for the longest time until of last year. Last year, I rediscovered an album and then it shot up to number 1. My favorite album of '66, but my number 2. Of course, I mean, most people would have thought this would be number 1 back then, but Mama's Papa's. Yeah. So to me, this album is such a masterpiece. We have the first album was great. It's like a fun California pop record. But then you have this album where it's like it's a little bit more darker because of the affairs, of all this turmoil going on. And I love it though. This is to me, this is like Rumors, but like with I mean it's there's not as much cocaine and 3 members aren't writing, it's just 1 member writing, but still I consider this to be like the Rumors of their discography, and just like Rumors and the turmoil with them, it ends up making for a great album. No Salt on Her Tail, beautiful song. No Salt on Her Tail. Ah, great song. Trip, Stumble, and Fall. Such a savage song. You're on a trip, stumble and fall. It's like, oh my God, what are you? That's crazy. Dancing Bear. I am a billion agreement with Bryer. I love that song, Dancing Bear. Oh my gosh, such a great song. Words of Love. I'm not sure if you mentioned that or not, Bryer, Words of Love, but I love Words of Love. Great Mama Cass lead vocal. My Heart Starts Still's really good. Cramser, I don't know what the heck you're on. Dancing in the Street is freaking awesome. Even Joe or Jason, I forgot who else in that group didn't like it, but I love their version of Dancing in the Street.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if I don't know if you're into it, Jason, Dancing in the Street, their version.
Yeah.
So, other Jason,
Yeah.
listen to this, Jason. This version's great. I saw her again. I saw her again last night. Strange Young Girls. I can't wait. Even if I could, I agree, Brian. That's amazing. That Kind of Girl. It's a hard rock song. It's like probably their heaviest song they've ever had. And then What Was the Time I Thought, which is it's like short but sweet. Pardon me. Overall, amazing album. Would recommend. Again, just barely missed my number 1 spot. It was my number 1 for the longest time, but then an album came along last year and shot up to number 1. And you guys will know what it is.
Yeah, I think we all can guess what our number 1s are. I have a feeling we're probably like, yeah, I think I know the number 1. We'll see. Well, number 2 for me, Pet Sounds by the Beach Boys. Yeah. Come on. How could you
It's
not?
like I said, it's Pet Sounds.
It's Pet
Speaks for itself.
We all know the album. We all talk about the album. It's one of the most talked about albums probably of all time, especially Beach Boys. When we talk about Beach Boys, like this is the album that we all talk about. Even though we love a lot of their other albums, we talked about Beach Boys Today was really big on our list last year. And yeah, I think we talked about, again, Beach Boys, I think is on a list every year that we've done since '62. I think me and Nick have had a Beach Boys album on there. And then
Yeah, exactly. I've had a Beach Boy album
yeah,
every year so far. I am a huge Beach Boy fanatic. Even next year, you're going to see more Beach Boys for me.
yeah. I think he even had 3 Beach Boy albums like in 1 year or something like that.
That was '64. All Summer Long, Shut Down Volume 2, and the Christmas album.
Yeah.
So.
So we all love the Beach Boys on this channel. But yeah, I had to put Pet Sounds. I mean, it's a top 10 best album of all time in my opinion, and my favorite Beach Boys album. It goes without saying. And there's a lot of people's favorite, I think, for good reason. It just feels different than the other albums, and not that the other albums are good, but this just, I don't know. it just goes another level with this one, and I feel like it feels more deeper. The songs do, I guess, because I always felt like Beach Boys are great, but then after a while, I'm like, okay, how many songs are we going to talk about surfing or about cars or about that? It seems like every song's about surfing or about a car. And this album has nothing about surfing and nothing about cars, and I kind of love that about it. That's like feels very deep and personal, I guess, in a way for Brian Wilson, of course. And obviously, it's considered like one of the best produced albums of all time. And Brian Wilson, this wall of sound thing, he really kind of helped popularize. And I know there's so many stories about him in the recording studio, making people, all these professionals do like multiple takes, and he comes up with all these kind of strange ideas that everybody thinks is strange, but it works out, of course, in the music. But yeah, and it's just, the Beach Boys still have the great Beach Boys sound, the great harmonies. Again, I love harmonies. And this has three, just absolutely huge hits. One's three of their best songs, I think, on this album. Of course, we all love God Only Knows is my favorite Beach Boys song of all time. It's a lot of people's favorite Beach Boys song. The harmonies are just absolutely fantastic. The lyrics, I just love the whole, what good would, talking about like, if you leave me, I'll be fine, kind of. And then it's like, what good would living be, or something like that. I love the lyrics of it. And just the idea of God only knows what I'd be without you. Like, I totally feel those lyrics. And then the harmonies at the end is some of the best. That's when it really kicks into high gear, when they have like 3 or 4 different people singing different things. That God only knows what I'd be without. God only knows. I love that when that comes in, and woo, they do that. Oh my gosh. It's just them singing. It's like almost a cappella. Oh, it's so good. But yeah, wouldn't it be nice? Absolutely fantastic opener to the album. God only knows this opener of side 2. That's great. And then side 1, it's just great openers and closers to both sides, I think. But yeah, wouldn't it be nice if we were older? Another great song about, wanting to get older, and and all that, and which we talked about when I'm in the last album. I think we talked about the When I Become a Man or whatever. It's a great song, but yeah, absolutely fantastic. One of their best. And then Sleep John B is another absolute favorite of mine on here. So catchy. Such a fun song. Very upbeat, catchy. One of their big hits anyways. But I love Caroline No. Caroline No is probably my 4th favorite on here. I just love that. Caroline No. I love how he sings that. So beautiful. But yeah, You Still Believe in Me is great. And That's Not Me. That's Not Me. Yeah. Like every song is just great harmonies, great melodies. Um, uh, I Just Wasn't Made for These Times. Absolutely fantastic. I can go through it all, but we've talked enough about this probably, and we might talk about more. This is definitely it's Nick's number 3, my number 2, and it could be someone's number 1. We'll see. But all right. So before we do our number 1s, we're gonna go around and talk about honorable mentions, I guess, and then we'll do our number 1s. All right. So start with you, Bryer. I guess honorable and dishonorable mentions, whatever you want.
All right. So starting with honorable mentions, quite a bit here. So in no particular order, Simon and Garfunkel's Sounds of Silence was contender. The Monkees' debut. The Who, a quick one. The Hollies for Certain Because. The Byrds, Fifth Dimension. Let's see, Living Spoonful, Daydream. The Association, Renaissance. I was thinking about it. I'll mention 2 more honorable mentions. The next one is the debut album of the band Love. That's another pretty nice one. And last honorable mention will be Frank Sinatra, Strangers in the Night.
Yes, that makes me happy, because then that tells me you actually really like that album.
Because your number 1 album is probably A Man in Me, right?
Oh yeah,
knows?
Man and Me, much better than Strangers in the Night, that has Strangers in the Night and Summer Wind on it.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, of course.
Frank Sinatra's number 1 all of us, I think, right?
I mean, come on. It was right there. Like, if it's gonna be Old Blue Eyes, why not Strangers in the Night?
Yeah.
There's like,
Yeah.
I think you could agree with me, Bryer. Now that you mentioned that album.
Yeah. And then that's all the honorable mentions I'll say. But in terms of the dishonorable, unlike 65, where I mentioned the Honeycomb album, and it wasn't like bad or anything, it was just kind of mid. This year we have our first, like, yeah, I'm not really into this one that much. And that is gonna be the album's called Freak Out, and it's by Frank Zappa and the Mothers of Invention.
Oh my gosh.
That's
You know,
crazy because that's like his big album.
it has its fans. It's it's pretty notable because it is pretty unique for the time. And of course, Frank Zappa has this long career,
Yeah.
and also a very acclaimed career. But I will say, I mean, he goes through many phases. This phase, this early phase, yeah, I'm not that into. It's a bit too out there, even for me, because it's kind of like this mixture of psychedelic rock, acid rock, maybe a bit of blues rock in there as well, and it's weird, it's wild. I mean, there's 15 songs on this, and
15.
there's like, and one song's 12 minutes.
Yeah, it's a double album.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm not saying I don't like Frank Zappa because I actually have a couple albums from him from his more late '60s, early '70s stuff where he's more jazz fusion, and I like that stuff a lot more.
Hey, you
But
like
this,
Josh?
yeah, because I like jazz fusion, and Frank Zappa, that's where he shows off his guitar playing a lot more, and he's a great guitar player. Here, I don't really hear it that much. It's just kind of all over the place. It's kind of there's no song I can really go back to. It doesn't really latch on. It's not really for me, I'll say. But, it's I mean, people I know it's a pretty notable album for the psychedelic rock period, but it's a bit too psychedelic probably for me. But that's my dishonorable mention,
And you own the album.
and I own it because I was curious.
Yeah. I guess it's my turn for that. Okay, honorable mentions. Strangers in the Night, Frank Sinatra should have been album of the year. If it was Oh Blue Eyes Game, it should have been that album at least.
Yeah.
Better, yeah, it should have been Pet Sounds or Revolver, of course.
Oh,
but
yeah, should have been one of those two.
I'm not saying Strangers in the Night's better than those two albums. I'm just saying if you're gonna pick Old Blue Eyes, at least pick the better album from him. For Certain Because by the Hollies, Hold On by the Hermits, Small Faces by Small Faces, Getting Ready by the Temptations, Yardbirds by the Yardbirds, Down to Earth by Stevie Wonder, Uptight by Stevie Wonder, Renaissance by the Association, and then along comes the Association by the Association, Hums of the Loving Spoonful, River Deep, Man High, Ike and Tina Turner, really good album. Two Yanks in England, the Everly Brothers, Daydream by the Loving Spoonful, From Nowhere, The Trogs, Sunshine Superman, Donovan, Where Were You When I Needed You, The Grassroots, Fifth Dimension, The Birds, Fresh Cream by Cream, Blonde on Blonde by Bob Dylan, John Denver Sings by John Denver, and lastly, Aftermath by the Rolling Stones. Yes. If you thought that was a lot, wait until we get to 67. I have a lot more.
Yeah.
As for my dishonorable mention, I'm going Hanky Panky by Tommy James and the Shonadels. Yes, I know it's cheating using the worst song of my 66 list, but I heard the album and everything on the album is terrible. I mean, Hanky Panky, my baby does hanky panky. And everything else is just terrible. I'm not even gonna bother putting effort into the album, but otherwise, terrible album. Hanky Panky could die in a hole, just like the album.
I didn't know that was an album.
Yep, that's an album.
When's Wooly Bully? Is that next year?
Wooly Bully was last year.
Oh, did we talk about that already?
That was my worst album of that year.
I can't remember. Yeah. All right. The only man, I'm kind of surprised now that you don't have Aftermath or For Certain Because in your top 10. So I know you love those two albums quite a bit.
It's like the best year of music, so
I
there's
know.
stiff competition.
Yeah, I have For Certain Because on my list.
It's just it's just too much competition, Jason.
I know. You're right. Uh, yeah, honorable mentions. Blonde on Blonde by Bob Dylan. Had that there. Um, If You Can Believe Your Eyes and Ears by the Mamas Papas. Um, Watch Out by Martha and the Vandellas. A good album. Jefferson Airplane Takes Off by Jefferson Airplane. Getting Ready by the Temptations. The Mamas and Papas by the Mamas and Papas. Uptight by Stevie Wonder. And The Supremes of Go-Go by The Supremes, where I mentioned. Again, couldn't get any Motown. Like every year I'm thinking I'm going to get some Motown in there, but then I just find myself gravitating more towards the folk rock and British rock of the time period. I like a little bit more than the Motown. So, but still, that's a good Stevie Wonder album. That's the first one I've heard from him where I'm like, this was a good album. And Supreme's another good one. And Temptations. I mean, I haven't got any Temptations, I don't think, in my top tens, and they make some good albums, but not quite up there. And I didn't write down a dishonorable mention. I always forget to write one of those down. But Hanky Panky sounds like a pretty bad one. Just listen. Freak Out sounds bad too. I've never listened to Frank Zappa in my life, so I can't even tell you
Yeah,
what.
you'll definitely hate that one.
Okay, I say I don't even know what he sounds like, to be honest.
I heard it. I heard it. I thought it was an okay album. I don't hate it as much as Bryer does, but I thought it was an okay album.
Yeah, I just know he has kind of a weird look. Is all I know about Frank Zappa. He looks kind of weird.
There was a
That's all.
plumbing teacher at my tech school that looked exactly like Frank Zappa. I'm like, you Frank Zappa is like, it's like Frank Zappa. No, but you call me that. I'm like, okay, Frank Zappa.
All right, now we're getting to our number one favorite album of '66.
All right. Well, my number one might be a shock to some of you.
Hanky Panky by Tommy James and the
Yes.
Shazelles.
Yeah. Heck no. Yeah. Number one. No, it's got to be
Yes.
Pet Sounds.
Pet Sounds. I thought.
Which is funny because
yeah.
it's just funny because last there. I mean, yeah. I mean, it's Pet Sounds. But yeah, it's funny how the last episode, my number 10 was Rolling Stones and number 1 was Beach Boys. Here's the exact same thing. That's not going to be the case next year. I'm afraid.
I don't see Wild Honey or
I don't see
being number one.
Yeah, sadly no. But I mean, this is one of my favorite albums of all time. This album just holds a very special place to me, especially on a personal level. And I told this story before, but I got into this album in senior year of high school. It was the same time I was going to direct a one-act play for my drama class. Mm-hmm. And I was listening to the album at the time, and I just remember just hearing the album, just being blown away. And then, of course, I learned the history of it, and even listening to the kind of the outtakes and stuff like that, and just hearing the recording process, and just hearing Brian, just how he directs the Wrecking Crew, and just being inspired by it, just how to the point and how specific he wanted something. And that was just how the approach I went when I directed my one-act play. And, the album itself also just really spoke to me as well because of what I was feeling at the time. Starts out with Wouldn't It Be Nice, which is this very positive, very happy sounding song, which, of course, according to Brian, that was the point, was to make a song of pure joy. And I think he accomplished that very well here, which is great because, a lot of the songs here are pretty depressing. But, you still believe in me. Great. Next follow-up song. Love that one. Nick brought up the part where he says, I want to cry, and, you do kind of want to cry when you hear that one as well. That's Not Me. Another fantastic one. Don't Talk, Put Your Head on My Shoulder. Another fantastic ballad. Love the vocals by that from Brian. I'm Waiting for the Day. Again, great musicianship on that one, and I agree. Let's go away for all is a really nice instrumental. And actually, when I did that one act play, that was the transitional. I used that for the transitional music when we're
Oh, really?
transitioning from scene to scene, because I just thought it was a nice little piece. But probably didn't match the overall content of it, but I liked it, so I thought why not. But yeah, that's a nice, pleasant instrumental. And then of course you have Sloop John B, um, kind of kind of brought in by Al Jardine. That's a nice, fun song. Again, another song to kind of boost the mood of the album. And then the next song, of course, you have God Only Knows. I mean, that's one of my favorite songs of all time. Just Carl Wilson's lead vocal on it alone is pretty good. But then, of course, you have the overall instrumentation with the wind instruments, and then you have the harmonies at the end of the song. Just really sends chills each time. I know there's an answer. Isn't that is a good one. Of course, kind of a drug song, of course, but here today's great. I just wasn't made for these times. That was definitely my theme song in high school.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, that was the one that really hit home for me at that point. Um, 12, and then you have Pet Sounds, the title track, which is another instrumental, which is probably the weakest song, but still cool, still very cool. And then you close out with Caroline No. Yeah, another lovely ballad to close out the album. So yeah, the production goes without saying. I mean, Brian Wilson is a genius. You cannot convince me otherwise, and it is definitely his genius is all over this thing with how he composed everything, he arranged the vocals, how he produced it, just taking the wall of sound from Phil Spector and really making it his own. And it's just something that's a lot of pop, even a lot of pop artists even today really take inspiration from, even on engineering perspective.
Yeah.
But yeah, love this album. Definitely has to be my number one. By the way, that play did not go well, but the overall process was fun.
If only you can do it again, I'm sure you can do better.
Oh yeah. Of course, it's not my fault that one of my actors bailed on me on the
Right.
day. Yeah.
You had to do it yourself, right?
Yeah. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, that was a whole thing. But in any case, that's it.
Oh,
Great pick.
that sucks actually.
You know, it is what it is. I've moved on from it, but I think I like the process of it. The process I still have fond memories of.
Okay, that's good at least.
Yeah.
Well, my number one favorite album of this year. Keep in mind before I give this album out to this artist, this was like to me the weakest album from this artist.
Yeah.
When me and Jason did this artist, I'm like, I don't know, I don't get the hype of the album. I always thought it was their weakest album. I think I gave it like an 8.5 out of 10 when I first listened to it. Not when I first listened to it, but it's one of those albums I just didn't listen to for some reason because it's like, oh, they have this album, a much bigger album that I would listen to more, and then another. It was just my least listened to album from this artist. But then I don't know, something told me you got to listen to this album. It's one of their most iconic albums. You got to listen to it more, and I did. And well, now it's my number one album of '66, and it's arguably one of the greatest things I've ever heard. Parsley, Sage, Rosemary, and Thyme by Simon and Garfunkel. You know, this is the first time Simon Garfunkel has won. I'm calling them championships. Johnny Cash so far has the most because early '60s, but yeah, Simon Garfunkel. This is their first win, their first number one spot. You know, hope they enjoy it because this is the last time they'll ever hit the number one like this.
Yeah.
Man, this album is so good. I am in agreement with you guys. Scarborough Fair is such a haunting way to open up the album. Open up with the acoustic. Boom, 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 boom. Are you going to Scarborough Fair? Parsley, sage, rosemary, and thyme. Oh, and it's like, and then you add the little soft harpsichord. Oh, and then you have Paul Simon singing whatever the heck he's singing. Just still, it works though, and man, such a beautiful album opener. It's one of my absolute favorite Simon & Garfunkel songs. Has always been, and it's one of the few songs on the sound that I've always went back to. Patterns. I remember me and Jason hating this song. I remember we were both like, "Oh, this song's not good." I mean, Jason said it's great, so I guess you agree with me now, Jason. This song's a grower. It's like avant-garde kind of. It's kind of artsy, but I like it now. It's a cool song. It's still my least favorite song on the album. I've made that clear. It's my least favorite song on this album, but it's still a cool song. I like the part where it's like a rock. It's like uh, it is a cool song. I will admit that. Cloudy. Oh
Yeah.
my gosh, Cloudy, come on. Cloudy is such a beautiful song. Cloudy, bum 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 bum, cloudy, bum bum bum. I like the part where it's like, "Hey sunshine, I haven't been home for a long time." Oh, beautiful song. Homeward Bound, man, this song has always been a song that I've really enjoyed on this album. Homeward bound, I wish I was homeward bound. I could see why it's Brier's favorite. It's such a beautiful song. One song I think no one ever talked about, none of you guys talked about, Big Bright Green Pleasure Machine. I love that song. Ah, good big bright green pleasure machine. Dun, 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 dun. I actually really like that song. I don't know why no one talked about that one. And then we got the 59th Street Bridge song. I love that song. Feeling groovy. Ba, 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 feeling groovy. Another song I feel like no one talked about was Dangling Conversation. It's another beautiful song. Oh man, great song. Flowers Never Bend with the rainfall. You know what? I like the Paul Simon version, but this Paul Simon and Garfunkel version is so much better. I think
Yeah.
it's because of Garfunkel. He had something special to the song. Another song no one really talked about, A Simple Desultory Prolific. I guess you like the song now, Jason, because it's the one where he sounds like Bob Dylan.
Is that the Bob Dylan one?
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
a great song, though. I knew a man, his face is so small, couldn't think nothing at all. Not the same as you and me, doesn't dig poetry. He's so unhip when you say Dylan. You're thinking about Dylan Thomas, whoever he was. The
Yeah.
man is uncultured. But
Yeah.
it's all right, Ma. Everybody must get stoned.
Yeah.
Bum, 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 bum. I love that. But the next song on the album, to me, the biggest dark horse song in this entire, out of all 10 of these albums, this is the most underrated, most dark horse song on their album discography. For Emily, whenever I may find her. I don't know how when I review this, but I remember it being like, it's a good song. It's okay. It's an all right song. Now it's like my third favorite Simon & Garfunkel song of all time. It's so good. Garfunkel, I agree with Jason. It has one of the best vocal performances from Garfunkel. I still think the best vocal performance is Bridge Over Troubled
Yeah.
Water. I mean, that song is just dynamite for him, but this is his second best vocal performance he's ever had. You can really hear the emotions, and this is a dark horse song on the album. It's the most dark horse Simon Garfunkel song. It's like this and Keep the Customer Satisfied. They're like, no one talks about it. No one knows that it exists unless you listen to the album. It's such a good song. Poem from the Underground Wall, another criminally underrated song. I love the harmonies on here. And then the last song on the album, 7 O'Clock News, Silent Night. That one speaks for itself. I'm not even going to review the song. I'll let the review on the back of the album stay for itself. I will not tell you in advance of what goes on here. My first hearing of it brought chills to my spine and tears to my eyes. It is one of the most effective statements about the world today that I've ever heard. That's my review on that song. And I agree with it. But man, Parsley, Sage, Rosemary, and Thyme. If you've never heard it before, it is a must listen album. Scott is asking what's going on. We are at number one.
Yeah.
Bryer's was Pet Sounds. Mine was Parsley, Sage, Rosemary, and Thyme. That is my favorite album of '66. Arguably one of my favorite albums of all time. You know, it was at like number 8 or number 9 for my top 100 albums. It might even get higher next time around. That's how that this
Top 10
every time I listen to this album, it gets better. It's one of those this and you know another album that's like that. This album, News of the World. These two albums are albums that I heard, and I weren't as I praise about it, but they shot up. They shot up so much. So you're ready for something good when I'm comparing it to Queen. So, Parsley, Sage, Rosemary, and Thyme. I have to listen to it. This is a must listen. Bridge Over Troubled Water is an amazing album. That is a must listen too. If you heard that one already, great. This album will forever. I thought Bridge Over Troubled Water will be my favorite forever, but this album, undefeated. That's my number one.
Now I want a meme of every time we mention Queen, I want like a meme of Bryer going like that. And
Yeah.
so every time we talk about him, we just cut to a picture of Bryer, and then
Even if it's like Queen Elizabeth, like.
Or if I'm not even there, every time you say Queen and I'm not there, you just pull that up.
Just want that pop up here
Yeah.
in the corner of the video, just him. All right, man.
Take note, Scott.
Number one album. I'm sure you guys are just on the edge of your seat about what my number one album is.
I think it's going to be a Frank Sinatra album.
Yeah, it's Frank Sinatra.
No, not Frank Sinatra. Frank Zappa.
Frank Zappa, yeah.
No surprise.
Freak Out. That's my favorite album. Fine.
Nobody would be surprised. My number one album is the only Beatles album that came out this year, and that is Revolver. Yeah, like I haven't talked about this album a million times already on either my channel or Jacob Martin's channel or somebody's channel. Yeah, it's just an absolute masterpiece. Get into psychedelic rock. We're starting to get to some good psychedelic rock here on this album. Some heavy rock. I mean, the guitars just sound heavier on this album than the other previous albums. And some of the best rock riffs they've ever done, I think, and best rock songs they've ever done. And they also do some of the great ballads they've ever done. I mean, it's just amazing. All the songs that they do in here. It's just like one of the most perfect albums ever made. If you know, it's my favorite Beatles album of all time. Absolutely love this album. I've heard it so many times. Also one of my favorite album covers. I just love the album cover. But yeah, we've all talked about it, how great this album is. But yeah, Taxman, one of the greatest rock songs ever made. I mean, that beginning part, bump, bump, and bump. Love that, and love the guitar solo. One of the best they've ever done. One of Harrison's best songs there. But my favorite song is Eleanor Rigby on here. The second song on here. Love the string arrangement. It's so beautiful, and the chorus, and some of the best writing Paul's ever done. I mean, telling the story of this person that died, and then talking about the priest or whatever getting ready for the funeral. And I just love how he writes, her her face she keeps in a jar by the door, which means her makeup. But I just love how he doesn't say makeup. He says her face in the jar. I love it. And I love the priest going to the funeral and nobody was there, so nobody got saved. I love it. I'm Only Sleeping. Yeah, you get some of that backwards guitar on that one, which was really cool. And I just love it's because sometimes I'm sleeping and I don't want to wake up either. And so I can relate. I'm like, when my dogs come and wake me up in the morning because they want to go outside, I'm like, I'm only sleeping, dogs. Get out of here. Let me sleep a little bit longer. Here and There and Everywhere, one of the best love songs Paul McCartney's ever written. just a beautiful love song. Yeah. Yellow Submarine, yeah, fun song. One of Ringo's best. Yeah, She Said, She Said. Some of the best rock guitars on that. Love that. She said. And one of the great opening lines. I know what it's like to be dead. The opening line of the album of the song. It's so good. Yeah, love the guitars on that. I'm just gonna skip to some other songs, but Andrew Bird Can Sing, just a hidden gem on this album. One of my favorite songs that probably people don't know about because it's not a big hit, but I love the continuing guitar riff on there. It's not a very long song, but man, I love that guitar and great harmonies as well in the whole song. For No One, as Nick mentioned, it's one of the best heartbreaking songs I've ever heard in my life. Oh my gosh. It really explains what it's like when you go through a breakup so well, the feelings and the emotions. Um, you know, just love the I cried for no one. I love that should have lasted years. Oh my gosh. So heartbreaking and beautiful at the same time. I always said Here, There, and Everywhere, one of the best love songs. For No One, one of the best breakup songs in the same album. Yeah, and I'll just cut to Tomorrow Never Knows. It's one of the great psychedelic songs of all time. I love that song. It's so It's the most experimental they've done at that point, and it's just crazy. All the different sounds, the backward guitars, all the different weird sounds they put in there, the constant drumming. It just all works together, and the vocals, the what they do on the vocals for John. It's a crazy song, but yeah, I'm in that camp. I love it. I guess Bryer and Nick agree with me on that one. A certain member of our group did not agree on that one, unfortunately, but we all agree on it.
Oh, Jacob.
So this is the second year in a row that the Beatles take my number one spot, just like Beach Boys took Breyer's number one spot 2 years in a row. So we'll see. Could 6 7 be the same? The Beatles definitely put out a big album, so we'll see. But I won't say yet what will happen there. But anyways, yeah, great picks. I love that Pet Sounds was in our all top three of all three of us. That was so cool. It went 3, 2, 1. It was like perfect the way it went. Especially I did 2, and then he did 1 right after me, which was kind of cool. Back to back on Pet Sounds. So that definitely was just looking at our list, I would say that's the best album. If you combine our list together, we have that the highest on our list. But I do love that Parsley Sage Rosemary Thyme was my 3, and that was Nick's 1. So we both had in our top 3 as well. And then we all agreed on Buffalo Springfield, Parsley Sage Rosemary Thyme, Revolver, and Pet Sounds. I think the 4 albums that we all agreed on. So great year, but we all had to agree. I mean, the really best ones really rose to the top for all 4 of us. Yeah. I think you can't deny those 4 albums were absolutely fantastic. But yeah, nice talking about one of my favorite years in music, 1966. 1967 is another great year, so we're going to talk about more absolutely amazing albums next time. Hopefully next month we'll get back together. And yeah, it's been a blast talking to you guys again about favorite albums. Any more, I guess, you want to say about, I don't know, the list, 1966, whatever, we'll close out here.
I'll let Brad go first.
I don't have much else to say, but looking forward to 67. Definitely some good stuff, some really great stuff there. And yeah, we're going to get even more weird stuff coming up, but that's the fun.
Well, like I said, being in this journey has been such a blast. I mean, 1960 was such a bad year for me and Jason, but 66 and 67 to me are the best years in music, and I'm excited to talk about 67.
Yeah, I'm excited to get through the 60s. It's been really great, kind of learning more music, and there's some new discoveries next year that I really listened to for the first time and loved it. I was like, wow, these are really good albums that I never listened to before. So that's the cool thing about next year, and that's what I love about doing this, discovering new albums. is what I try to do every year. But besides that, thanks you a lot to Bryer and Nick for joining me on this. Make this a fun time talking about favorite music. And thanks to everybody that in the comments. I appreciate everybody commenting. 66 go. Everybody kind of stopped talking at one point. I didn't get any more comments, but I got a lot at the beginning of the channel. Or I guess everybody got tired and went away. But hopefully anybody be watching this, please tell me what your favorite album 66 is or what you thought about our list. Appreciate any comments and anything like that. Besides that, thank you to all of us for listening and watching us. And besides that, have a good rest of the week, and we'll see you later. Bye.